Chapter 1423. Although Taoist Scarlet Flame's words were simple, his heart was fiercely shaken. His attack just now could completely annihilate any existence below the third realm of Tao querying. Even the strongest seeds wouldn't dare to take it head-on. But Yi Xian had actually withstood it head-on. Such a character was extremely rare, and had the potential to become one of the strongest throughout history. Presumably, before those strongest experts reached the Tao, they weren't much stronger than Yi Xian. At this moment, a sense of crisis arose in Taoist Scarlet Flame's heart. He somewhat understood why Zhang Huaimia had the impulse to kill Yi Xian. Such a character was too amazing. If he didn't nip him in the bud and let him step into the immortal realm in the future, it was very likely that he would become one of the strongest in the next Yuan Hui. Zhang Huaimia would then sink into the masses, never to rise again. Killing intent rose in his heart. He wanted to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. At this moment, Taoist Scarlet Flame was truly serious. He truly wanted to kill Yi Xian here and now. On the other side, Yi Xian's face was gloomy. A gray light surrounded his body. Although he had blocked Taoist Scarlet Flame's attack head-on, the blood in his body was violently churning. An extremely sore feeling came from his body. It had to be said that the immortal realm existence that had opened the second gate of heaven was truly terrifying. Although Taoist Scarlet Flame's cultivation was inferior to Nine Mountains' loose cultivator, he still gave Yi Xian an extremely heavy pressure. However, what made Yi Xian feel fortunate was that in the face of Taoist Scarlet Flame's attack, Yi Xian wasn't completely helpless. This was his chance to fight with Taoist Scarlet Flame. Again, tribulation transcend or transformation. The blood in Yi Xian's body erupted like a volcano. The fiery fighting spirit in his eyes burned fiercely. He roared out loud and his aura soared. He no longer held back and crazily attacked Taoist Scarlet Flame. This battle was extremely important to Yi Xian, and it was also a battle to measure his own cultivation. If he was able to kill Taoist Scarlet Flame in the Tao Comprehension realm, then it would mean that he truly had the ability to contend against an immortal stage cultivator. "You are courting death," Taoist Scarlet Flame coldly shouted. This time, he activated 80% of his cultivation. Two heavenly gates appeared behind him, and his aura skyrocketed, causing the world to shake violently. Attack. Boom. Yi Xian used the attack formula. Combined with the tribulation transcender transformation and his cultivation, Yi Xian's aura had reached a terrifying level. Bang! This punch pierced through the dome of heaven and earth. This punch broke through the mountains and rivers. This punch seemed to be able to pierce through the universe. With the support of the attack character art, Yi Xian's attack had broken through the limits of the Tao querying realm. Qitian. Taoist Scarlet Flame's expression immediately changed. Even though he had opened the second gate of heaven, facing Yi Xian's unbreakable punch, his heart was beating wildly, foretelling him that he was in great danger. Rumble! The golden divine flame blotted out the sky and covered the earth as it directly transformed into a golden screen of light in front of Taoist Scarlet Flame. Yi Xian's fist smashed onto it, causing the resplendent golden flames to explode, causing everyone to be unable to open their eyes. Go to hell! Yi Xian's face was ferocious as he roared in the golden flames. His fist was unstoppable as it broke through Taoist Scarlet Flame's golden light curtain bit by bit. Burn! Taoist Scarlet Flame's face flushed red, and the golden flames on his body became more and more terrifying. He raised his palm and slapped down at Yi Xian. The terrifying golden flames were mixed with the power of eternity, wanting to kill Yi Xian on the spot. Man follows the heavens and the heavens follow the earth. Heaven and earth become one, and the mortal body is unparalleled. Yi Xian roared. He didn't dodge at all, allowing Taoist Scarlet Flame's palm to hit his head. However, his ancient fist that was aimed at Taoist Scarlet Flame erupted with unimaginable power at this moment. Bang! The golden light exploded, and Yi Xian's terrifying fist landed on Taoist Scarlet Flame's chest. With a terrifying explosion, Taoist Scarlet Flame's chest cracked like a spider web, and a mouthful of golden blood spurted out from his mouth. Boom! Looking at Yi Xian again, although his fist made Taoist Scarlet Flame spit out blood, Daoist Scarlet Flame's immortal strike also landed on his head. Wah! Yi Xian spurted out a mouthful of blood. His eyes, nose, and ears were bleeding, and terrifying cracks were growing on his face. It was as if he would be smashed to death by Daoist Scarlet Flame's attack at any time. However, this was not the end. This was only Daoist Scarlet Flame's immortal strike. The truly terrifying golden flames had already engulfed Yi Xian from head to toe. Arg! Yi Xian's entire body was wrapped in golden flames, and an extremely ferocious roar came from his mouth. This was the scarlet flame of heaven and earth that Daoist Scarlet Flame had cultivated for many years. It could be said that it could burn all things and contain the power to destroy heaven and earth. Daoist Scarlet Flame's name came from this golden flame, and the scarlet flame of heaven and earth was his most terrifying technique. At this moment, Yi Xian was engulfed by the golden flame and could be turned into ashes at any time. Brat! Brat! You're dead! Daoist Scarlet Flame's face was as pale as a sheet of gold paper. He had taken Yi Xian's punch, and now he had suffered considerable injuries. However, Yi Xian's injuries were even more serious, which made him laugh wildly. Burying heaven magic refined self. Suddenly, before Daoist Scarlet Flame's wild laughter stopped, Yi Xian's mysterious chanting came from his mouth. A terrifying gray light burst out from his body, constantly repairing his body that was burned by the golden flame. Such a scene immediately made Daoist Scarlet Flame's complexion change greatly. He looked at Yi Xian with extreme surprise, and then he sucked in a breath of cold air. Are you crazy? Daoist Scarlet Flame roared in shock, because what Yi Xian was doing at this moment was simply incomprehensible to him. What did Yi Xian do? It was very simple. After taking Daoist Scarlet Flame's attack, Yi Xian's body almost exploded. Moreover, under the golden flame, Yi Xian's body was gradually withering and could be burned to ashes at any time. However, Yi Xian did not use his cultivation to expel the golden flame. Instead, he allowed the golden flame to burn his body. However, Yi Xian did not constantly repair it, so he suffered unimaginable pain. This was like Yi Xian forging his body like a weapon. Although the golden flame was constantly destroying his body, it was also constantly refining his body. However, this method was too extreme, and it also contained the danger of death. Apart from some lunatics, no one dared to do this, because if they were not careful, their body would collapse, and they would die. It just so happened that Yi Xian was a lunatic, so Daoist Scarlet Flame was so frightened. Swallow! Suddenly, without waiting for Daoist Scarlet Flame to wake up, a terrifying black fog grew around Yi Xian. As he opened his mouth, the golden flame that submerged his body was swallowed into his mouth. Roar! With a roar that could suppress mountains and rivers, an extremely anxious smoke and fire aura was spat out from Yi Xian's mouth. His body was as dazzling as jade, making people feel an extremely terrifying pressure at a glance. How is this possible? Daoist Scarlet Flame said in horror. Not only did Yi Xian not die under his divine fire, but he also used his divine fire to refine his body. In his opinion, this was simply a fantasy. Die! Without waiting for Daoist Scarlet Flame to recover from his shock, Yi Xian's sword finger slashed through the sky. The strand of Nirvana sword light was born at his fingertip, and it instantly shot towards Daoist Scarlet Flame's forehead. Nirvana? Nirvana Divine Finger? Well, what kind of joke is this? Daoist Scarlet Flame and Song Huaimie said at almost the same time. The great technique Yi Xian used was their Undying Heaven Palace's secret technique. This simply overturned their understanding. Chapter 1424. However, Daoist Scarlet Flame did not have the time to figure out why Yi Xian knew how to use the invincible divine finger, because he knew how terrifying it was. It was a great technique created by a supreme expert. Even he did not dare to take it lightly. Daoist Scarlet Flame dodged the attack in a hurry. The invincible sword light instantly pierced through the heavens and the earth, and a chaotic star exploded in the starry sky. Who the hell are you? Daoist Scarlet Flame looked at Yi Xian in shock. How could the secret technique of the Immortal Heaven Palace appear in the hands of an outsider? Boom! Unfortunately, Yi Xian ignored Taoist Scarlet Flame's question and rushed towards him violently. The terrifying body that had just been tempered brought out a terrifying flame behind Yi Xian, accompanied by an extremely deafening roar. Die! Yi Xian roared ferociously. The attack formula was combined with various great techniques. Even Taoist Scarlet Flame had to be wary of this power that was beyond the third realm of Tao querying. No matter who you are, I will kill you today. Taoist Scarlet Flame's face was gloomy. He turned his hand and slapped out the immortal great technique. The terrifying and vast power roared out as he rushed towards Yi Xian. Bang! 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 The two men were completely entangled in a chaotic battle. Their figures could not be seen clearly as they were completely entangled. Each of their great techniques had the supreme power to destroy the heavens and the earth. Everyone below the immortal realm is an ant. Even if you are a heaven-defying genius, I will kill you here today. Taoist Scarlet Flame roared fiercely. Golden flames roared in the sky, and he seemed to have turned into a man of fire. His battle strength suddenly skyrocketed, and he attacked Yi Xian crazily. Taoist Scarlet Flame was an immortal realm expert who had opened the second gate of heaven. His battle strength was terrifying to the extreme. Even though Yi Xian had used all kinds of secret techniques, he was still at a disadvantage in the face of Taoist Scarlet Flame's crazy attacks. Bang! 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 The heavenly fire burned the plains, incinerating all living things. It was as if the heavenly fire had pierced through the heavens and the earth, or as if the heavenly river was hanging down, annihilating all living things. Yi Xian passively defended himself. The light of heaven burying violently flashed around his body. Occasionally, he would counterattack Taoist Scarlet Flame, but most of the time, he was bitterly resisting. Die! Taoist Scarlet Flame roared furiously. He performed an incantation gesture with both hands and gathered a supreme technique, which turned into a fiery rune and blasted out, smashing towards Yi Xian with a terrifying power that could burn the world. Nirvana Battle Armor. Roar! It was as if a ferocious beast from the 9 heavens was roaring, as if the primordial chaos was trembling. A deep roar that shook through the ages was heard. Yi Xian's body flashed wildly, and a pitch-black armor instantly appeared on his body. Heaven-destroying halberd, Wang. Since the beginning of time, it had slaughtered both the past and the present. That strand of ferocious aura exploded forth. Yi Xian's forehead flickered violently. The 3-inch halberd swelled, and then it swelled and fell into Yi Xian's hand. Kill! The halberd was the heaven-destroying halberd, and the battle armor was the Nirvana battle armor. With the halberd and the battle armor in his hand, Yi Xian's entire body exploded with an ancient ferocious aura. The terrifying heaven-burying light skyrocketed, and the halberd blasted towards Taoist Scarlet Flame. Bang! Heaven and earth exploded and everything fell. When the two great techniques collided, Yi Xian's heaven-destroying halberd almost flew out of his hand. A strand of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The Nirvana battle armor flashed wildly, but it still managed to block Taoist Scarlet Flame's terrifying attack. Taoist Scarlet Flame did not have it easy either. The heaven-destroying halberd contained an indescribable murderous aura. The halberd blasted through his shoulder, and a terrifying bloody hole appeared. Boom! The two of them retreated in different directions. The terrifying energy blasted apart countless mountains and rivers, and caused the land within tens of millions of miles to collapse. Kill! Suddenly, Yi Xian's eyes shone with a bloody light. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and roared. He charged towards Taoist Scarlet Flame again. The aura around him was extremely violent, and he seemed to have fallen into a state of madness. You're courting death. Taoist Scarlet Flame's face was ashen. He flipped his hand, and a heavenly fire flag appeared in his hand. Then, he waved the heavenly fire flag with both hands, and an unimaginable power suddenly erupted from the flag. Boom! 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 The heaven-destroying halberd and the heavenly fire flag collided with each other. Every collision erupted with a mighty force that could suppress the void. The ripples of power that spread out collapsed the void between heaven and earth, and even turned the cold mountains into powder. Terrifying, truly terrifying, simply too terrifying. Yi Xian and Taoist Scarlet Flame attacked each other crazily. At this moment, neither of them held back at all. They wanted to kill each other. However, the difference in cultivation was indeed like the difference between heaven and earth. Even though Yi Xian had the strength to go against the immortal realm, he was still at a disadvantage when facing a terrifying existence like Taoist Scarlet Flame, who had opened the second gate of heaven. Those below the immortal realm were all ants. This was not just a saying. The gap between them was like heaven and earth. Only Yi Xian could be so terrifying in the Tao querying third realm. If it were anyone else, they would have been slapped to death by Taoist Scarlet Flame. Now Yi Xian was only at a disadvantage. It seemed that he could not resist Taoist Scarlet Flame. But this was already very commendable. Looking at the entire chaotic world, there were very few people who could reach this level like Yi Xian. Not to mention anything else, just the battle strength of Yi Xian in the Tao querying third realm at this moment. Even if the strongest of all time was in the same realm as him, it would be difficult to reach this level. Boom, boom, boom. The battle between the two had entered a white-hot stage. They fought from the ground to the sky, and then from the sky into the chaotic starry sky. The terrifying roar made people dizzy, and those with weak minds would fall to the ground. At this moment, the people from the sixth sect trembled and were speechless. The faces of the four great sect masters were deathly pale. They'd been observing this unprecedented battle the entire time. Although they saw that Yi Xian was at a disadvantage and had faint signs of defeat, their eyes were filled with indescribable fear. Monster. Heaven-defying monster. No, not only a heaven-defying monster, but also one of the most powerful monsters of all time. This was the definition that the four lords gave to Yi Xian at this moment. A person in the Tao comprehending realm actually had a life-and-death battle with an expert in the immortal realm who had opened the second gate of heaven. This was simply a fantasy, and no one would believe it. But they had to believe it even if they did not believe it. The so-called fantasy really happened in front of them, and they even witnessed it with their own eyes. I can guarantee that if Yi Tian does not die today, he will definitely become the strongest of all time in the next Yuan Hui. Lord Jiuqiu said with a trembling voice. Yes, with such terrifying aptitude and battle strength, even the top 10 strongest in the past would not be stronger than him in this realm. Lord Taiyang Lord whispered in a trembling voice. For such a person, it would be our honor to be his servant. If we can follow him in the future, we will also rise to the top. Lord Corpse Kuei sighed again and again. Chapter 1425. What's the point of saying all this? He's already at his limit. If we can help him escape this place, we might be able to form a good relationship and pave the way for our future cultivation. Soaring Saint Sect Master said in a low voice. Help him escape. How? Sect Master Jiuqiu's expression changed slightly. That's right. This Taoist Scarlet Flame is an immortal realm expert who has opened the second gate of heaven. Behind him is the immortal heaven palace. Let's not talk about whether we have the ability to help Yi Tian escape. Even if we can help him escape, do you think Taoist Scarlet Flame will let us go? Solar Sect Master frowned. Let's wait a little longer. I feel that this Yi Tian Ju is not that simple. Perhaps he can defeat Taoist Scarlet Flame? Sect Master Jiuqiu said. Don't joke around. He's just a Tao comprehending realm expert. Taoist Scarlet Flame has already opened the second gate of heaven. There's an entire realm difference between them. How can he defeat Scarlet Flame? Solar Sect Master retorted. I don't think so. Didn't he just kill 9 Mountains Loose Cultivator? Why can't he create another miracle? Corpse Sect Master retorted. Are you stupid? 9 Mountains Loose Cultivator's world origin was destroyed. He only managed to recover his cultivation base, temporarily, after refining it to the extreme. But in the end, he exhausted his cultivation base and died. Taoist Scarlet Flame, on the other hand, has no such hidden danger. Although his cultivation base is not as good as 9 Mountains Loose Cultivator, how can Yi Tian defeat him? Solar Sect Master frowned. Alright, stop arguing. Let's wait and see how Yi Tian will get out of this dangerous situation. Sect Master Jiuqiu scolded. Boom! While they were arguing, a terrifying explosion came from the horizon. Yi Xian was blasted away. He coughed out a mouthful of blood. Even the Nirvana armor had dimmed at this moment. Clearly, Yi Xian was no match for Taoist Scarlet Flame in this crazy battle. However, there was nothing he could do about it. Taoist Scarlet Flame's cultivation base was too much higher than Yi Xian's. It was already a miracle that Yi Xian could fight to this extent. Die! Taoist Scarlet Flame roared in rage. He was a sempiternal realm expert who had opened the second heavenly gate. Yet, he was still unable to kill a Dao-querying third-level cultivator after fighting for such a long time. This was simply an insult to him. A great technique condensed and shot towards Yi Xian. Clearly, he wanted to deal a fatal blow to Yi Xian. Rumble. This immortal grand technique was too terrifying. It had already sealed off all of Yi Xian's escape routes. It could be said that it was a sure kill move. Time. Suddenly, at this critical moment, Yi Xian's figure turned illusory. His voice rang out from all directions. He actually disappeared from where he stood in an instant, and a wisp of qi of time drifted out. Boom! Taoist Scarlet Flame's great art instantly missed its target. However, Taoist Scarlet Flame was stunned on the spot. His eyes became dull as if he had lost his soul. The power of time and space? Taoist Scarlet Flame spoke word by word as he slowly spoke of the great technique that Yi Xian had used. This was because he definitely wasn't mistaken. Yi Xian had to use the power of time and space to dodge his fatal attack. How is this possible? Song Weimi roared in horror. He rubbed his eyes hard, as if he could not believe what he had seen. Just now, Yi Xian had used the invincible divine finger, which had already surprised him. Now, Yi Xian had also used the power of time and space, which had completely subverted his understanding. One person actually possessed two supreme powers. This was unprecedented in the entire chaotic world. This was because the supreme orthodoxies would never allow their disciples to learn other supreme skills. This was also a taboo in the 10 supreme orthodoxies. Time and space reversal. Rumble. A divine tree of time and space, which had taken root in the void, appeared. Its emerald green branches and leaves swayed slightly. The mysterious power of time and space rippled out and fell toward Taoist Scarlet Flame. It was as if time and space between heaven and earth had begun to reverse at this moment. It also made Taoist Scarlet Flame appear old, and his cultivation began to decline. Heavenly fire protection. Taoist Scarlet Flame woke up instantly. The golden flames rumbled and burned, which instantly stopped his decline. Even if you have cultivated the power of time and space, you will die today. Boom. The two great gates of heaven pulsed with a loud bang. Taoist Scarlet Flame punched toward the void millions of miles away. The terrifying flames destroyed one side, and Yi Xian's figure suddenly appeared. Although the power of time and space was mysterious, it was not invincible. Taoist Scarlet Flame was too powerful. When he woke up, although the power of time and space was troublesome, it could not cause him any harm. Stop! Blood flowed from the corner of Yi Xian's mouth, and his face was extremely pale. It was obvious that he was injured, and the light around him was extremely dim. However, when he suddenly pointed out a finger, the space and time in this area froze, and the attack that Taoist Scarlet Flame sent towards him also instantly slowed down, allowing Yi Xian to dodge without any danger. Heavenly fire descends, seal heaven and earth. Taoist Scarlet Flame's face was ashen. He performed the immortal divine art with both hands. At this moment, he really regarded Yi Xian as his opponent, and even used his trump card. Qi, qi, qi. A terrifying thing happened. Streams of heavenly fire rushed into the sky and instantly filled the heaven and earth for millions of miles. Yi Xian had nowhere to hide. Although the power of time and space is mysterious and unfathomable, the gap in cultivation cannot be made up for. Today, you will die without a burial place. Taoist Scarlet Flame roared again and again. He was really frightened by Yi Xian. At this moment, he just wanted to kill Yi Xian quickly and solve this problem that frightened him. Just you? It's not certain who will kill who today. Yi Xian's face was pale, and his cultivation was at the bottom of the valley. However, a sinister and cruel smile still hung from the corner of his mouth. He actually brandished the heaven-punishing halberd and charged towards Taoist Scarlet Flame once again. Cut! You're courting death. The heaven-destroying halberd and the heavenly fire flag collided again. Yi Xian was sent flying again, and blood flowed out of his mouth. However, Daoist Scarlet Flame's face was slightly red. Obviously, Yi Xian's attack did not make him feel good. What kind of monster was this? Looking at Yi Xian, who was sent flying, Daoist Scarlet Flame's heart trembled. He had an intuition that if he did not kill Yi Xian today, it would not be long before this person turned him into ashes. I'll send you on your way. Daoist Scarlet Flame's killing intent soared. He no longer held back and crazily activated all his cultivation, hoping to kill Yi Xian quickly. Heaven devouring. Before Daoist Scarlet Flame could reach Yi Xian, a terrifying black fog emanated from his body and crazily spread out in all directions. Immediately, the world within 1,000,000 miles turned pitch black. Woo woo woo. A terrifying thing happened. The flames in the sky shook violently. The terrifying fire essence rushed towards Yi Xian. Not only were these fire elemental essences, all the plants within 1,000,000 miles were withering and turning into ashes. The terrifying elemental energy transformed into long rivers that surged towards Yi Xian. Heaven-devouring demonic skill? Is he a monster? Daoist Scarlet Flame roared in horror. Song Huaimia also let out an ear-piercing scream. Both of them recognized that Yi Xian was using the heaven-devouring demonic skill. Roar. Above the dome, in the void, Yi Xian let out an angry roar like an ancient beast. He opened his mouth like a whale drinking water. The boundless Yuan Qi was crazily being devoured by him. Boom! Yi Xian's body swelled like a rubber ball. The terrifying Yuan Qi replenished his lost cultivation and caused his aura to rise crazily. It also healed his previous injuries. Chapter 1426. Roar. What was the meaning of swallowing mountains and rivers? What was the meaning of the chest containing the universe? At this moment, Yi Xian fully interpreted the meaning of these two sentences. With the cooperation of the Calamity Transcender technique and the heaven-devouring demonic art, he crazily swallowed the spiritual energy in all directions. Even the great technique that Daoist Scarlet Flame had shot at him was turned into pure fire essence and crazily refined. You, who the hell are you? Daoist Scarlet Flame roared in panic. If it was said that Yi Xian had displayed the secret techniques of the two supreme orthodoxies before, then Yi Xian had displayed the heaven-devouring demonic art at this moment, which made him completely terrified. Kill. Unfortunately, Yi Xian didn't respond at all. Instead, he violently rushed towards Daoist Scarlet Flame. At this moment, his essence was full, and his damaged cultivation had recovered to the peak. This move of his immediately displayed the power to destroy the world. Bang! Daoist Scarlet Flame hurriedly counterattacked and slapped Yi Xian away. However, his figure trembled slightly. Obviously, Yi Xian's attack didn't make him feel any better. Again! Without waiting for Daoist Scarlet Flame to react, Yi Xian's flying figure instantly stabilized, and he let out a fanatical roar. Time and space rippled, and he strangely appeared behind Daoist Scarlet Flame. Boom! The halberd crossed the sky and destroyed everything. The heaven-punishing halberd in Yi Xian's hand erupted with a bright light. The power of eternal slaughter bloomed at the tip of the halberd and went straight to the back of Daoist Scarlet Flame's head. Damn it! Daoist Scarlet Flame turned around and counterattacked. The heavenly fire flag rolled in the sky. With a loud bang, Yi Xian's figure was once again sent flying. Chaotic Sky 7 killing halberd. At this moment, Yi Xian was too berserk. The hot blood in his body boiled like lava as he roared towards the sky. His eyes were scarlet and terrifying. His entire body actually turned into a black beam of light as he charged towards Daoist Scarlet Flame once again. Hiss! Facing Yi Xian's strike, Daoist Scarlet Flame sucked in a breath of cold air. Even though he was an existence that had opened the second gate of heaven, facing Yi Xian's halberd, he still felt the threat of death. Quick! Daoist Scarlet Flame's face was solemn. His hands transformed into countless transformations as he performed the Immortal mantra. The flag of heavenly fire buzzed and spun in front of him. The terrifying golden flames directly turned into a whirlpool in front of him. The 7 killers of the chaotic sky, life and death were unpredictable. Yi Xian hadn't used the chaotic Sky 7 slaughtering halberd for a long time. This technique was used in conjunction with the heaven-destroying halberd. It possessed a terrifying and unpredictable power. Qi. A black light streaked across the sky. It was as if the entire world had stopped moving at that moment. Only the black light was jumping around happily. It easily pierced through the heavenly fire flag. The golden flames were instantly extinguished, and the sound of the heavenly fire flag breaking could be heard. But it wasn't over yet. Puff! Ugh! The sound of the halberd piercing through flesh could be heard. It was accompanied by a groan from Dao's scarlet flame. Yi Xian's figure appeared with the halberd in his hand. The cold tip of the halberd had already pierced through Dao's scarlet flame's forehead. Traces of blood flowed down his forehead continuously. However, Yi Xian's fatal strike didn't kill Dao's scarlet flame. Dao's scarlet flame's hands were already tightly gripping the heaven-destroying halberd, preventing Yi Xian's attack from destroying the divine soul in his forehead. Die! Yi Xian roared ferociously. The heaven-destroying halberd was jumping around in a terrifying manner. The heaven-destroying halberd was rumbling and trembling in his hands. It was slowly pushing towards Dao's scarlet flame's forehead. Clang, clang, clang. Both of Dao's scarlet flame's hands were stained with blood. This was caused by the power that erupted from the halberd. The heaven-destroying halberd violently jumped around in his hands, trying its best to stop the advance of the heaven-destroying halberd. At this critical moment of life and death, Dao's scarlet flame calmed down. After all, he was in the immortal realm, who had opened the second gate of heaven. His entire body erupted with a dazzling golden light. His hands were as flawless as gold. With a loud roar, an extremely terrifying power erupted from his mouth. It also sent Yi Xian and the heaven-destroying halberd flying. It had to be said that the immortal realm, who had opened the second gate of heaven, was too terrifying. Even though Yi Xian had used all his skills, he still couldn't kill Dao's scarlet flame. However, Yi Xian wasn't disappointed. This was because he didn't believe that Dao's scarlet flame could maintain his peak state forever. Even if he had to wear him down, he had to wear him down. Space-time acceleration. In the next moment, Yi Xian burst forth once again. This time, the space-time power was activated. His figure couldn't be seen at all. Sometimes he would appear in the outside world, sometimes in an alternate space. The cold light emitted by the heaven-destroying halberd was an unimaginable threat to Dao's scarlet flame. Yi Xian's goal was to fight with all his strength. He wanted to go against the immortal realm, and even kill him under the heaven-destroying halberd. This was also the standard by which he measured his combat strength. Damn it, you damned bug! Dao's scarlet flame was furious. He was in a passive state at this moment. It wasn't that he wasn't a match for Yi Xian. On the contrary, he was much more powerful than Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian's various powerful techniques were enough to make Dao's scarlet flame badly battered. It was extremely difficult for him to kill Yi Xian at this moment. Bang! 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 Dao's scarlet flame's entire body erupted with terrifying golden flames as he crazily charged towards Yi Xian. The two of them instantly intertwined, and each of their great techniques exploded with a power that could destroy mountains and rivers. Go to hell! Go to hell! Dao's scarlet flame roared to the heavens. He crazily unleashed his immortal realm techniques. Streaks of dazzling and flawless light swept across the void between heaven and earth. Heavenly blades appeared and slashed towards Yi Xian. Unfortunately, the space-time technique was too profound. Yi Xian was able to avoid these fatal attacks every time. Occasionally, he would even counterattack Dao's scarlet flame. The two of them could be said to be fighting back and forth. It could be said that they were fighting back and forth. However, most of the time, Yi Xian was still at a disadvantage. This was because Dao's scarlet flame's cultivation was much higher than his. There was nothing he could do about it. However, Dao's scarlet flame didn't dare to be careless. His mind was tense to the extreme. If he was careless, Yi Xian's fatal attack would come. Boom! Boom! An unprecedented battle continued. From the ground to the sky, and then from the sky to the chaotic starry sky. The figures of the two of them were left behind in every space. Billions of miles of heaven and earth were devastated. All of this was caused by the intense battle between the two of them. Who is he? Who is he? On the other side, Song Huaimiya looked at Yi Xian's figure in the sky with a pale face. He was very sure that such a terrifying figure couldn't be a nobody. Supreme techniques, terrifying divine weapons, and various secret techniques that he couldn't understand. With all these things added together, Song Huaimiya would never believe that Yi Xian was a nobody. Spacetime nirvana devouring heaven? Song Huaimiya kept whispering. He was thinking hard about who in this chaotic world could master so many supreme techniques. Who is he? Who is he? Song Huaimiya stared at Yi Xian's face and frowned. The more he looked at Yi Xian, the more familiar he felt Yi Xian was. However, he couldn't remember where he had seen Yi Xian before. Chapter 1427. Suddenly, a face that he had almost forgotten quietly appeared in his mind in that moment of absent-mindedness. At the start, the face was still blurry, but as Song Huaimiya pondered, the face became clearer and more compatible with Yi Xian's current face. Body with multiple supreme techniques, he is. Song Huaimiya muttered in fear, but before he could finish, his entire body froze on the spot. Even his face turned pale like paper. His lips and teeth were trembling uncontrollably, as though he had thought of something extremely terrifying. Impossible. After a dozen breaths of time, an unimaginably terrified voice came out from Song Huaimiya's mouth. He didn't dare to believe the truth he knew. No, absolutely impossible. He is dead. This person died millions of years ago. Song Huaimiya roared in fear as he continuously retreated. However, his eyes were fixed on Yi Xian, who was in the middle of the battle. His trembling body betrayed his true emotions. It's him, it must be him. No wonder his fighting strength is so terrifying. He can actually fight a Dao-querying third realm immortal. Only he can have such terrifying fighting strength. Song Huaimiya muttered in fear. Uncle, leave quickly. He is Yi Xian. Suddenly, Song Huaimiya roared towards the sky and directly revealed Yi Xian's identity. A wave of speechless terror filled his heart, causing Song Huaimiya to want to escape from this place in fear. On the other side, Daoist Scarlet Flame was crazily exchanging blows with Yi Xian. However, his expression was extremely heavy. The golden flames around his body were slightly dimming. On the other hand, Yi Xian was lively and vigorous. The more he fought, the more courageous he became. He was actually on par with Daoist Scarlet Flame. A sense of unease began to grow in Daoist Scarlet Flame's heart. The two of them had been fighting for more than half a month, and their cultivation had already been depleted by half. If they continued to fight like this, not to mention killing Yi Xian, they would probably exhaust their cultivation and die. On the other hand, Yi Xian was different. Every time Yi Xian was blasted flying or even injured, the other party would crazily take out medicinal pills and start devouring them. He would even use the heaven-devouring demonic technique to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to replenish himself. In this situation, Daoist Scarlet Flame knew that if he continued to fight like this, he would definitely be the one to suffer. Although Daoist Scarlet Flame was consuming pills, his refining speed was too slow. It couldn't replenish his lost cultivation. After all, he didn't cultivate the demonic heaven-devouring technique. He couldn't refine it as fast as Yi Xian, the heaven-devouring technique. Just as Daoist Scarlet Flame's heart was heavy, Song Huaimiya's trembling shout woke him up. However, he didn't understand what Song Huaimiya was talking about, nor did he know the meaning of the two words Yi Xian. You recognize me? On the other side, Yi Xian was slightly taken aback. Then, the corners of his mouth curled into a cruel smile. He struck out terrifying star runes that covered Daoist Scarlet Flame and Song Huaimiya. It also blocked the vision and hearing of the 6 sections. After all, Yi Xian didn't want others to know his identity. It would only bring him more harm than good in the northern region. Great uncle, he is Yi Xian who killed the Lord of the Extreme Fiend tens of millions of years ago. He is the Yi Xian that the strongest experts of all time have been searching for. In the next moment, Song Huaimiya roared as he explained to Daoist Scarlet Flame. What? Daoist Scarlet Flame's expression changed. It was as if he had been struck by lightning. His shocked expression froze on his face. Clearly, he couldn't believe such a ridiculous thing. He had naturally heard of Yi Xian's name, but that was something from tens of millions of years ago. Yi Xian wasn't that famous back in the Grand Central region. It was only because he had killed the Lord of the Extreme Fiend that people began to praise him. However, no one had seen Yi Xian kill the Lord of the Extreme Fiend. Even the creatures of the primal chaos were skeptical of this matter. Tens of millions of years later, very few people would remember Yi Xian. However, Song Huaimiya had once met Yi Xian. Now that he recognized Yi Xian, he naturally had to warn Taoist Scarlet Flame about how terrifying Yi Xian was. You are Yi Xian? You are Yi Xian who killed the Lord of the Extreme Fiend? In the next moment, Taoist Scarlet Flame suddenly turned around and looked at Yi Xian. His voice trembled unconsciously. Clearly, he wanted to confirm Yi Xian's identity. You're really a joke. You said you wanted to kill me before. But why do I see fear in your eyes now? But you really are a joke. Back then, even the Lord of the Extreme Fiend couldn't kill me. Instead, he died at my hands. You want to kill me as a mere never-wither, who has opened the second gate of heaven? Don't you think you are a joke? Yi Xian said playfully. It really is you? Taoist Scarlet Flame no longer cared about Yi Xian's mockery. He only heard Yi Xian mention that he had killed the Lord of the Extreme Fiend. This made him tremble. Great fear appeared in his eyes. He no longer wanted to fight Yi Xian. What kind of joke was this? Yi Xian was someone who could kill the strongest in history, even if he had used underhanded means. How could Taoist Scarlet Flame provoke such a person? At this moment, Taoist Scarlet Flame no longer wanted to kill Yi Xian. Instead, he wanted to escape. Such a person was not someone he could face. Go. Without any nonsense or hesitation, Taoist Scarlet Flame waved his sleeve and swept Song Huaimiya to his side. He turned into a shocking beam of light and was about to escape the battlefield. You want to leave? Too late. A cruel and sinister smile appeared on Yi Xian's lips. He did not stop Taoist Scarlet Flame from escaping, because he had already set up a backup plan. The two of them could not leave at all. As expected, bang! A deafening sound rang out. The boundless sky was filled with resplendent starlight. Terrifying star runes rose up from all directions, sealing this part of the world within. The interweaving runes were too mysterious. The vast chaotic starry sky poured down even more terrifying astral energy. This was the method of a chaos star master. Yi Xian had set up a killing array. Although Yi Xian did not cultivate the astral origin art, and had let his avatar cultivate, he was very familiar with the methods set up by a chaos star master. I'll send you on your way. Yi Xian attacked with a loud bang. His entire body carried a terrifying might that could sweep through the heavens and earth. As for Taoist Scarlet Flame, his expression was filled with fear and uneasiness. Uncle, Song Huaimiya instantly left the battlefield. He looked nervously at Taoist Scarlet Flame, hoping that Taoist Scarlet Flame would be able to repel Yi Xian and take him away from this terrifying place. At this moment, Song Huaimiya was filled with regret. Why did he come here out of curiosity? Otherwise, why would he encounter such a life and death crisis? But it was too late to regret. Song Huaimiya could only pray that Taoist Scarlet Flame could win. Even if Taoist Scarlet Flame forced Yi Xian to retreat, as long as Taoist Scarlet Flame could take him away, he would be satisfied. Chapter 1428. Unfortunately, Song Huaimiya was destined to be disappointed. Originally, Taoist Scarlet Flame was extremely afraid of Yi Xian, and his cultivation was gradually being consumed. Now that he knew Yi Xian's true identity, he didn't even have the slightest bit of fighting spirit in his heart. He only wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. This allowed Yi Xian to gain the upper hand and take the initiative to attack Taoist Scarlet Flame. The sun rose and the moon set. Time flowed like water. The battle between Yi Xian and Taoist Scarlet Flame lasted for an entire year. Hundreds of millions of miles of mountains and rivers were collapsing, and Taoist Scarlet Flame had already fallen into an extremely weak state. His cultivation had already been consumed by 80%, and at this moment, he was trying his best to resist Yi Xian's attacks, without any strength to fight back. with fear in his heart. How could he win? On the other hand, Yi Xian was different. His energy seemed endless, and his cultivation was freely released. Every attack he sent out caused Daoist's scarlet flame to flee in a sorry state. It could be said that the more he fought, the fiercer he became. Let's end this. Suddenly, Yi Xian stopped chasing Daoist's scarlet flame. He put away the heaven-punishing halberd, and the nirvana battle armor disappeared. Tribulation transcended devour the heavens. Roar! Yi Xian roared towards the sky. His entire body became illusory, and a terrifying black fog rose around him. His entire body turned into a black vortex, and a terrifying suction force bloomed. No! Daoist's scarlet flame let out a mournful roar. His entire body couldn't help but be sucked into Yi Xian's devouring technique. At this moment, he was extremely weak and couldn't resist Yi Xian's devouring technique. Great uncle? Song Huaimia roared in fear and grief. However, he didn't go forward to save Daoist's scarlet flame. Instead, he turned around and ran, hoping to escape from this terrifying place. Unfortunately, this world was sealed by Yi Xian. This was the method of a Chaos Star Master. Let alone a mere Song Huaimia, even Daoist's scarlet flame couldn't escape. Devour your flesh and blood, devour your essence. This will allow me to reach a higher level of enlightenment. Yi Xian's ferocious and excited voice reverberated between heaven and earth. Daoist's scarlet flame roared unwillingly, but he was still unable to resist the suction force, and his entire body was pulled in front of Yi Xian. By Yi Xian, if you kill me, the undying Heaven Lord won't let you off. To say to Huai to kill Yi Xian to die. Kill! Yi Xian flipped his hand and formed a heavenly saber. With a single slash, he chopped off Daoist's scarlet flame's head. A large amount of blood gushed out, directly soaking Yi Xian. Roar! Yi Xian opened his mouth wide and saw Daoist's scarlet flame's headless corpse rapidly shriveling. The terrifying essence energy turned into a surging heat wave that was crazily swallowed by Yi Xian. You'll die a horrible death. Although Yi Xian had cut off his head, Daoist's scarlet flame still hadn't died. But when he saw his own body being cruelly devoured by Yi Xian, this scene almost drove him crazy. Rumble! The black fog dissipated. Yi Xian's body was still shaking. After devouring Daoist's scarlet flame's cultivation, Yi Xian was like a rubber ball. The essence energy in his body was crazily attacking his meridians, almost causing Yi Xian to explode. Fortunately, the Calamity Immortal technique, combined with the heaven-devouring demonic art, allowed Yi Xian to quickly suppress this terrifying essence energy in his body, waiting for him to gradually refine it in the future. Yi Xian, just kill me. Although Daoist's scarlet flame only had his head left, his vitality was too tenacious. After all, his divine soul hadn't been destroyed, and an immortal realm expert wouldn't die so easily. If you want to die, it's very simple. Don't worry. I'll fulfill your wish sooner or later. Yi Xian held Daoist's scarlet flame's head, a strange and gloomy expression appearing on his blood-stained face. Bang! 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 Suddenly, Song Huaimia flew around like a headless fly in the distance. From time to time, he would bombard the star runes that sealed the world, trying to escape from this terrifying place. Come! Yi Xian coldly smiled. His 5 fingers suddenly stretched out toward Song Huaimia. The power of space and time reversed the universe, and Song Huaimia was instantly sucked over. Bang! Yi Xian slapped out, directly slapping Song Huaimia to the ground. His 7 orifices were bleeding. The so-called strongest seed couldn't even withstand a single blow from Yi Xian. The people of your immortal heaven palace are all trash. You are trash. Daoist's scarlet flame is also trash, and even your high and mighty immortal heaven lord is trash. Bang! Yi Xian held Daoist's scarlet flame's head in his hand and stepped on Song Huaimia's head. Cruel and gloomy words came out of his mouth. Yi Xian, you dare to insult the immortal heaven lord. The heaven lord will turn your bones into ashes sooner or later. Daoist's scarlet flame angrily roared. Insult? Yi Xian coldly smiled. Don't worry. Wait until I send you 2 trash on your way. I'll kill that immortal heaven lord sooner or later. Ha ha ha. Yi Xian laughed maniacally. With a bang, He kicked the unconscious Song Huaimia down from the clouds. With one hand holding Taoist Scarlet Flame's head, he also stepped down from the sky. Below, at the peak of Heavenly Een Mountain, bang! Song Huaimia's unconscious body fiercely smashed onto the mountain peak. Yi Xian held Taoist Scarlet Flame's head and appeared before the eyes of the 6 sections. The world was silent. Not a sound could be heard. At this moment, no one dared to make a sound. Only endless fear and reverence filled the mountain peak. Everyone looked at Yi Xian not only with fear, but also with reverence for an unparalleled powerhouse. If Yi Xian killing Lu's Cultivator 9 Mountain was a dirty trick, then seeing Yi Xian return with Taoist Scarlet Flame's head, the 6 sects had already completely submitted to Yi Xian in their hearts. The strong were as heavy as a mountain, the weak crawled like an ant. This was the law of the primal chaos universe. The strong were always revered by the weak. And at this moment, Yi Xian was a true powerhouse in their eyes. He was a powerhouse that they revered. Greetings, Sect Master. After a dozen breaths of time, the 4 sect masters knelt at Yi Xian's feet. Their foreheads touched the ground, and they didn't dare to raise it. Their trembling bodies proved how much respect they had for Yi Xian. Greetings, Sect Master. In the next moment, as if there was a chain effect, the 4 grand elders of the lunar sect hurriedly knelt and kowtowed. The disciples of the 6 sects let out a roar like a tsunami. At this moment, the situation was set. Everyone had submitted. The people of the 6 sects didn't dare to have any disloyalty. Although they weren't loyal to Yi Xian, they definitely didn't dare to have any thoughts of rebellion. Yi Xian had killed 2 immortal realm powerhouses and suppressed the so-called strongest seeds. And he was only in the Tao comprehending realm. If such a person stepped into the immortal realm, how terrifying would he be? You trash, hurry up and kill him. Otherwise, when the people of the immortal heavenly palace arrive, all of you will die. Taoist Scarlet Flame roared at the top of his lungs. He knew that he definitely wouldn't live. Even at the last moment of his life, he had to create trouble for Yi Xian. Unfortunately, Taoist Scarlet Flame's childish threat didn't affect the people of the 6 sects at all. If it was in the past, the people of the 6 sects might be extremely fearful. But after witnessing Yi Xian's terrifying battle prowess, who would dare to make a move against him? Chapter 1429. Mister, leaving this person alive will be a disaster sooner or later. Why don't we just kill him? Gu Beichen strode over to Yi Xian and suggested. Mister, the soul of an immortal realm expert is a great supplement. It would be a pity to kill him like this. Why don't we put him into a pill furnace and refine a top-grade divine pill? This way, we can make the best use of him. Fatso Huang said with a sinister smile, looking at Taoist Scarlet Flame with a burning gaze. You dare? Taoist Scarlet Flame roared with a trembling voice. Although Fatso Huang said it simply, Taoist Scarlet Flame knew very well that this method was simply vicious and cruel. It would definitely make him suffer a fate worse than death. Since you like it, then do as you please. Yi Xian smiled coldly and threw Taoist Scarlet Flame's head to Fatso Huang. Yi Xian had already sealed his soul, so he would definitely not give Taoist Scarlet Flame any chance to escape. Thank you, mister. Fatso Huang grinned and directly left with Taoist Scarlet Flame's head. No one knew what Fatso Huang said to Taoist Scarlet Flame, but it actually caused Taoist Scarlet Flame to curse in extreme fear. Hearing Taoist Scarlet Flame scream of fear, the people of the 6 sects all shuddered. The entire Heavenly Een mountain peak was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Sect Master, the unification of the 6 sects is a big matter, but what is the name of the sect? Sect Master Jiu Chu carefully probed. The name of the sect? Yi Xian was slightly startled, then a strange smile appeared on his face. There are 3 great sects in the northern region. How can a mere sect compare to them? Why don't we establish a great sect? That would be wonderful. Yi Xian said. Establish a sect? This? Sect Master you? As Yi Xian's words fell, the 4 great sect masters were all shocked. Even the people of the 6 great sects looked at each other in dismay. A silent and heavy atmosphere quietly grew. It was no wonder they were so nervous. After all, The matter of establishing a sect was no small matter. It was a matter that concerned the entire Northern Star region. Moreover, once a sect was established, it would incur the hostility of the three great sects of the Northern Territory. It was very likely that the three great sects of the Northern Territory would besiege the sect. The North Star Starfield only had three great sections. These three great sects had stood tall in the Northern Domain for countless years. It could be said that the three great sects of the North Star Starfield were the rulers of the Northern Domain. Even the previous North Region Alliance could only survive in the cracks of the three major sects of the North Region. How could Li Tsangtian not want to be the leader of a sect? However, he deeply understood that he was simply courting death if he dared to merge the six sects into one sect. The three great sects of the Northern Region had existed since the ancient times, and the Yuanhui Immortal Realm. Each great sect had several Immortal Realm experts, and the members of each sect were terrifyingly powerful. To begin with, the North Star Starfield was a bitterly cold place with scarce cultivation resources. The three great sects of the North Region could be said to be fighting one another for these resources. If the six sects were to merge into one sect, how could the three great sects of the North Region just sit by idly? They would definitely annihilate the sect. After all, there were only so many cultivation resources in the North Star Starfield. If the three great sects of the North Region didn't even have enough to distribute, how could they accommodate a new sect? Therefore, when Yi Xian proposed to merge the six sects into one sect, the four great sect masters revealed a troubled look. Everyone from the six sects was speechless as well. Why? Is it difficult for you guys? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. Sect Master, there's something you don't know. Allow me to explain the situation of the North Star Starfield to you in detail. Sect Master Jiu Chu hurriedly explained the reason. Very quickly, an instant's time passed. Yi Xian had already understood the situation, and the reason why the four great sect masters were in such a difficult position. The three great sects of the North Region? Yi Xian murmured. However, the next moment, his lips curled into a sinister smile as he said, "Look at how useless you guys are. If you guys continue to survive in the cracks of the three great sects of the North Region, what kind of future can you have? Don't you guys want to plunder more cultivation resources to make yourselves stronger?" Yi Xian scolded coldly. But Sect Master Corpse Kuei wanted to defend himself. However, before he could speak, Yi Xian waved his hand and interrupted. "There's no buts. The four of you are at the Path Integration Realm, and are only one step away from the Immortal Realm. You guys have been stuck at the Path Integration Realm for so many years. Your realms and cultivation base should be about the same. However, the most important reason is that you guys don't have enough cultivation resources. If you had a huge amount of cultivation resources, the four of you would be able to undergo the Immortal God Tribulation and step into the Immortal Realm. It's not impossible." After Yi Xian finished speaking, he waved his hand and pointed at the people from the six sects and said, "As disciples of the six sects, all of you have been cultivating diligently. However, you guys have always been inferior to the disciples of the great sections. It's not that you guys are not talented enough. It's just that you guys don't have the cultivation resources of the disciples of the great sections. You guys don't even have good cultivation methods or secret skills. Are you guys willing to be inferior to others? Don't you want to plunder their cultivation resources and take the cultivation methods and secret skills of the disciples of the great sects as your own?" It had to be said that Yi Xian was indeed an expert in bewitching people. Following his impassioned incitement, the members of the six sects all breathed heavily. Some of the disciples' eyes even turned red, and there was an extremely abnormal and greedy look in their eyes. Not to mention the people from the six sects. Even the sect masters of the four sects were flushed. Just as Yi Xian said, the reason why they couldn't step into the Immortal Realm was indeed related to the lack of cultivation resources. After all, the cultivation resources needed to undergo the Immortal God Tribulation and step into the Immortal Realm were too huge. It was impossible for them to achieve it with their wealth. No one was willing to be weak, especially the cultivators from the Northern Region. It was because being weak meant death. In this cruel northern region, only by becoming strong could one face all kinds of dangers and live well by stepping on the corpses of their enemies. Heavenly materials and earthly treasures, divine weapons and spiritual pills, cultivation methods and secret skills, and blessed lands. We don't have these things, but we can snatch them. We can snatch them. If you want the saintess of a great sect, as long as we dare to snatch them, even the saintess of a great sect will make your bed and sleep with you. Think about it. Think about the wonderful future. Don't you want to live a carefree and happy life? Yi Xian endlessly bewitched the people from the 6 sects, and even outlined an extremely vivid and beautiful scene for them. This also caused the breathing of the people from the 6 sects to become even more hurried. Everyone's eyes erupted with a fiery light that they had never seen before. Humans were extremely greedy creatures. They were creatures full of all kinds of desires. What Yi Xian wanted to do was to draw out the greed and desire in these people's hearts. Only then could he truly use them. A qualified leader must show both kindness and severity. Yi Xian already had authority. He had killed 2 immortal realm experts in a row, which made the people from the 6 sects revere him. At this moment, Yi Xian needed to show kindness, and he was doing so. He had successfully stirred up everyone's emotions. Yi Xian never believed in the so-called loyalty. He only believed in interests. Only common interests could make these people work for him. Chapter 1430. Sect Master is right. If a man dies, his bird will face the sky. If he doesn't die, he'll live 1,000 years. Why should the 3 great sects occupy all the resources in the Northern Territory, while we have to hide in this tiny place and struggle at death's door? Suddenly, a disciple from the sect jumped out. His eyes were bloodshot as he roared. His words ignited everyone's emotions. One by one, people from the 6 sects stood out and agreed with Yi Xian's suggestion to establish a sect. Instantly, the world became extremely noisy. All sorts of praises rang out. There were even people who shouted that they would destroy the 3 great sects, steal their techniques, and steal their women. It was as if they had become heinous bandits. Looking at this scene, Yi Xian smiled in satisfaction. Although he could directly establish a sect with a single word, he didn't need the consent of these people. However, oppression could only make people submit, and not make them work for him. Now it was different. These people would become his mad dogs and bite people at his command. Sect Master, let's establish a sect. The 4 sect masters' faces were red. They looked at each other and saw the determination in each other's eyes. They even bowed their heads to Yi Xian. Obviously, the 4 sect masters' biggest wish was to step into the immortal realm. At this moment, their desire had been ignited. Moreover, they had a terrifying figure like Yi Xian to lead them. This made them completely determined. Good. Yi Xian praised. He also knew that the matter of establishing a sect was a success. Since you all agreed to establish a sect, then the 6 sects will be a thing of the past. Our orthodoxy will be called the Celestial Court. Yi Xian's voice resounded in all directions. The Celestial Court? The 4 sect masters murmured. Then their eyes lit up. With the sky as the top and the earth as the court. Good name, good name. Sect Master Jiu clapped his hands and praised. Then the 6 sects will establish the Celestial Court, the Solar Sect Master said excitedly. The other 2 sect masters also agreed. The Celestial Court. For a moment, the people of the 6 sects shouted the name of the Celestial Court, causing the world to tremble. Yi Xian had a deep look in his eyes as he looked up at the cosmos and murmured, "The Celestial Court is naturally a good name. Sooner or later, I'll make sure that this name resounds throughout the Chaosverse." Sect Master, the matter of establishing the sect cannot be delayed. We still need you to choose an auspicious day and announce it to the entire North region. Send out invitations to all the great orthodoxies and sects, Sect Master Jiu advised. Yi Xian nodded slowly. Naturally, he agreed with sect leader Jiu's words. After all, establishing a sect was not something that could be talked about. It needed to be announced to the entire northern region. Moreover, they needed to hold a ceremony to establish a sect. Set the date 3,000 years later. Send the invitations to all the major sects and orthodoxies. Don't forget about the 3 major sects of the northern region as well. It's up to them whether they come or not, Yi Xian said in a low voice. Yes, sect master. The 4 sect masters bowed and accepted the order. The following matters were simple. Yi Xian instructed the 4 sect masters to take note of some things. The 4 sect masters then led their disciples back to their original sects and began to move their sects to the lunar heavenly sects encampment. After all, the unification of the 6 sects was not as simple as it seemed. Each sect had accumulated a lot of cultivation resources. Moving the entire sect would take a lot of time and effort. Therefore, Yi Xian decided to establish a sect 3,000 years later. This was also to give the 4 sect masters a buffer time. As for the sect of the ether, it was taken over by a Tao-comprehending realm elder. Everything proceeded in an orderly manner. Snow Bamboo Peak. Kneel. Bang. A muffled sound was heard, followed by Gu Beichen's cold scolding. Song Hui Mia was kicked to the ground, causing Song Hui Mia to let out a muffled groan. Yi Xian leaned lazily on the bamboo chair and looked indifferently at Song Hui Mia, who was lying on the ground. His eyes were as deep and calm as an ancient pond. Yi Xian, don't kill me. As long as you don't kill me, I will do anything you want me to do. Song Hui Mia struggled to get up and knelt in front of Yi Xian. At this moment he did not have the dignity of an ultimate seed, nor was he as arrogant as before. Instead he looked like a coward. What a lowly person. Do you think someone like you is qualified to compete for the ultimate seed of the next Yuanhui? Yi Xian said indifferently. He looked at Song Hui Mia with a mocking gaze. Yi Xian vaguely remembered that this person was arrogant and had the attitude of a proud son of heaven. But today, he was kneeling in front of Yi Xian and begging for mercy. This contrast made Yi Xian feel that it was funny. What ultimate seed? What ultimate seed? So in the face of death it was funny. It was sad and pitiful. I don't have the qualifications. I really don't have the qualifications. Yi Xian, don't kill me. I will do anything you want me to do. Song Hui Mia was truly afraid. He was afraid of dying here. He was still young and was about to step into the undying realm. He did not want to die here. Looking at Song Hui Mia's lowly appearance, Yi Xian's eyes were filled with disgust. If this person was not afraid of death, Yi Xian would think highly of him. However, his cowardice made Yi Xian look down on him. Speak. Why did you come to North Star Field? What happened in the Great Central Domain in the past 10 million years? What is your goal? Yi Xian said indifferently. I'll speak. I'll tell you everything. Song Hui Mia did not dare to lie. He quickly told the whole story. Yi Xian listened carefully. It turned out that after the Lord of the Extreme Devil died 10 million years ago, the entire Great Central Domain was in chaos. First, the Extreme Devil Heavenly Palace was in a mess. Then other ultimate orthodoxies started to attack them. After losing the Lord of the Extreme Devil, the Extreme Devil Heavenly Palace was surrounded by enemies. Fortunately, there were many undying realm existences in the Extreme Devil Heavenly Palace. The entire Extreme Devil Heavenly Palace quickly disappeared from the Great Central Domain. Over the past tens of millions of years, many young geniuses emerged from the various supreme orthodoxies. One after another, peerless geniuses rose to prominence in the Grand Central Territory. Some perished, while others rose to fame, their names resounding throughout the Grand Central Territory. Other than these ultimate orthodoxies, there were also some mysterious characters. These people had extraordinary cultivation bases. Some had even reached the undying realm. Legend had it that the strongest of these people were known as heaven-defying geniuses. They could go against undying realm cultivators in the Tao-querying realm. However, these people were not the successors of ultimate orthodoxies. Few people knew about their origins. Of course, these successors of ultimate orthodoxies were not to be trifled with. For example, Lu Zhaoxing of the Temporal Temple was in the Tao Convergence realm. He was only one step away from reaching the undying realm. There was also the heaven-devouring demon Sun. His heaven-devouring demonic skill swept through all enemies in the universe. Wherever he went, he would devour everything. His cultivation base had reached the undying realm. It was terrifying to the extreme. Moreover, legend had it that the Child of Destiny, and the Child of Time, and Child of Chaos had also appeared. However, almost no one had seen these three in action. It could be said that people had only heard of their names, and had never seen them in person. After all, time, space, destiny, and chaos were the three most powerful forces. Clearly, these three people were not inferior to those mysterious geniuses. Chapter 1431. However, what shocked Yi Xian the most was a piece of news. When Yi Xian heard this news, his eyes deepened, and a trace of heaviness flashed through them. Slumbering apex seeds. It was a simple sentence, but it contained an extremely important message. What was a slumbering apex seed? As the name implied, the so-called slumbering apex seeds weren't from the 10th epoch. They were terrifying experts with supreme aptitude from the previous epoch. For example, the 9th epoch's extreme devil lord. He was originally from the 8th epoch, and was in the same epoch as the extreme emotion lord. However, for the extreme emotion lord, he gave up his spot as the apex expert of the 8th epoch and fell into a slumber. He woke up in the 9th epoch and became the apex expert of the 9th epoch in one fell swoop. These hidden monstrous experts were like the extreme devil lord in the past. Some great orthodoxies would hide them and let them fall into a deep slumber. When the time was right, they would come out of their hibernation. These hidden monstrous experts were extremely terrifying. They were the top experts of their era and had competed with apex experts before they achieved Tao. However, they were defeated in the end. When Yi Xian heard this news, his brows slightly furrowed and his eyes deepened. After all, to be able to compete with the strongest experts of all time before they achieved the Tao, this also proved that these hidden monsters were definitely not weak. This is truly an era of great Tao competition. Yi Xian smiled. He felt that this world was becoming more and more interesting, and filled him with great motivation. Yi Xian really wanted to see if these so-called supreme monsters, the so-called heaven-defying monsters, and the so-called hidden monsters, were stronger or weaker than him. However, Yi Xian wasn't in a hurry. He wanted to wait until he reached the immortal realm before he returned to the Grand Central Territory. This was because he didn't only have to face these monstrous experts, he also had to face some veteran immortal realm experts. Most importantly, these apex experts knew that he was still alive and definitely wouldn't let him go. Therefore, without absolute confidence, Yi Xian couldn't return to the Grand Central Territory. Yi Xian, I have said everything I need to say. Can you let me go now? Song Huaimia's face was pale, but his eyes were filled with hope. He was extremely humble. When did I say I would let you go? Yi Xian smiled, but it was a very cruel smile. From the beginning to the end, he didn't want Song Huaimia to be alive, because only a dead man could keep his secret. Yi Xian, do you really think that I am begging you for mercy? I'm just stalling for time. You have been tricked. Boom. Suddenly, Song Huaimia's humble look was replaced by a smug and ruthless. Of his entire body turned of it. Of his entire of him. Of Yi of the immortal realm. Undying escape technique. This was Song Huaimia's greatest trump card, and also his life-saving technique. However, this technique consumed a lot of his cultivation, and required a long time to charge up. Therefore, Song Huaimia was stalling for time with Yi Xian. Song Huaimia was afraid of death, but he wasn't stupid. He understood Yi Xian's temperament very well. Yi Xian definitely wouldn't let him go. Therefore, he didn't expect Yi Xian to let him go. You want to leave? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and activated his space-time ability. His 5 fingers reached towards the sky, wanting to capture Song Huaimia. But in the next moment, Yi Xian was stunned. His space-time ability had lost its effect, and he couldn't capture Song Huaimia. Yi Xian, you dog. Your undying escape technique is unparalleled in the world. Even space-time ability can't stop it. You can't kill me today, but once I return to the Immortal Heaven Palace, I will inform the Heavenly Master that you are still alive. At that time, the Heavenly Master will grind your bones to dust. Song Huaimia's venomous curse resounded through the world. He sounded very pleased with himself. No one I want to kill has ever been able to escape. Yi Xian's face was gloomy. He suddenly stood up from his rocking chair. A mysterious fluctuation was released from his body as he mumbled something. It was as if he was summoning some kind of existence. Incarnation grafting flowers on trees. Suddenly, Yi Xian let out a low roar. His entire body instantly turned illusory, and his entire body was filled with an ancient and mysterious aura that he'd never had before. Southern Dipper region, underground cavern. A person who looked exactly like Yi Xian was sitting cross-legged in the lava. However, his eyes were closed as he cultivated. He was like an ancient boulder, unmoving and unmoving. In the next moment, Yi Xian's voice rumbled out. Yi Xian, who was sitting cross-legged in the magma, suddenly opened his eyes. Resplendent starlight blossomed around him as he muttered to himself. His hands began to form mysterious star arts, and his entire body became illusory and unpredictable. Snow Bamboo Peak. Rumble. Starlight runes appeared. This was astral origin power, a power unique to chaotic star masters. At this moment it strangely appeared around Yi Xian. Heaven and earth reverse, primal chaos returned to origin. Yi Xian pointed a finger, and a terrifying star source shot out, instantly causing the world to distort to the extreme. Song Huaimia, who had already escaped from the Supreme Yin Sky sect, actually appeared in front of Yi Xian. Suppress! Yi Xian casually threw out a astral origin chain, which instantly wrapped around Song Huaimia and suppressed him on the spot. Even if Song Huaimia had Tongtian's abilities, he couldn't escape. How is this possible? Song Huaimia roared in shock. He was completely dumbfounded. One must know that the undying escape technique was unparalleled in the world. Even space-time power couldn't stop it. However, he was once again captured by Yi Xian. This simply made his heart tremble. Chaotic star masters are indeed powerful. Yi Xian looked at the astral origin power in his hands. A trace of excitement flashed past his eyes. Song Huaimia had just escaped. Yi Xian really had no way to capture him. However, he suddenly thought of his avatar. After so many years, his avatar had been cultivating the power of karma and star source energy in the underground magma of the Great Southern Dou region. This also made Yi Xian think that perhaps the star source energy could capture Song Huaimia and bring him back. As expected, Yi Xian used his avatar to successfully draw the astral origin power to his main body. The astral origin power covered the entire primal chaos world and successfully captured Song Huaimia. However, Yi Xian was now very curious. After tens of millions of years, he didn't know what level his avatar had reached. Was it in the Dao querying three realms? After all, his avatar was one of Yi Xian's greatest trump cards. This trump card could save his life. Don't kill me! Don't kill me! Song Huaimia cried out in fear. This was because he could already see Yi Xian's emotionless eyes. Clearly, he would be suppressed to death in the next moment. If I don't kill you just because you say so, wouldn't I lose a lot of face? Yi Xian smiled cruelly. His 5 fingers glowed faintly. It was also the power of nirvanic extermination. However, Yi Xian's nirvanic extermination was far stronger than Song Huaimia's. This strike would definitely destroy Song Huaimia's soul. Don't kill me. As long as you promise not to kill me, I can tell you a great secret. Before Yi Xian could kill him, Song Huaimia cried out in fear. This caused Yi Xian to pause his attack. He looked at Song Huaimia with interest. What secret? Chapter 1432. The Heavenly Beast Pill can allow a Dao Integration Realm cultivator to step into the Immortal Realm. Song Huaimia trembled as he spoke. He quickly explained the origin of the Heavenly Beast Pill and the secret of how the Song clan's patriarch had asked for it for him. Heavenly Beast Pill. Yi Xian was stunned. He had never heard of such a pill that could allow a Dao Integration Realm cultivator to enter the Immortal Realm. Such a pill was simply heaven-defying. Looking at Yi Xian's pondering expression, Song Huaimia sighed inwardly and hurriedly continued. My clan's patriarch has already gone to the ancestral land of the giant star beasts. He will definitely bring back the Heavenly Beast Pill for me to consume. When the time comes, I will definitely offer it to you. I only ask that you spare my life. Song Huaimiao was truly forced into a corner. As long as he could preserve his life, he was willing to do anything, even if he was extremely unwilling to part with the heavenly beast pill. If he could exchange it for his life, it would be worth it. It is indeed very tempting. Yi Xian nodded slightly, but his eyes narrowed as he looked at Song Huaimiao. Unfortunately, anyone can speak empty words. Although the heavenly beast pill is good, this secret is not enough for me to spare your life. You still have to die. After all, only a dead person can make me feel at ease. Rumble. Yi Xian raised his palm again, and the power of nirvanic extermination erupted. This caused Song Huaimia's expression to change greatly. A trace of hesitation flashed across his eyes, but it instantly turned resolute. It was as if he had made a decision at this moment. Heaven-shattering cauldron. I know a clue about the heaven-shattering cauldron. Song Huaimia's voice was earth-shattering. It was like a sudden explosion of thunder. He directly revealed a huge secret, one that caught Yi Xian somewhat off guard. What? Yi Xian's expression changed greatly. The killing intent on his body dissipated without a trace. Clearly, the words heaven-shattering cauldron had an irresistible charm on Yi Xian. It was no wonder that Yi Xian was so moved. One had to know that the heaven-shattering cauldron had brought him many unimaginable benefits. It could be said that half of his cultivation was due to the heaven-shattering cauldron. The Tribulation Transcender Transformation, the Tribulation Transcender Devour, the Nirvana Battle Armor, and even the fourth heaven-shattering cauldron allowed Yi Xian to create the heaven-burying art. Each heaven-breaker cauldron contained an extremely heaven-defying technique. Legend had it that the heaven-breaker cauldron contained the secret to opening the gate of reincarnation. Anyone who could unravel the secret would be able to truly transcend the chaos verse. Yi Xian already had 4 heaven-shattering cauldrons, all of which were compatible with the ancient bronze scripture. There were a total of 12 heaven-shattering cauldrons, which faintly corresponded with the primal chaos 12 periods. According to Yi Xian's conjecture, he had 4 heaven-shattering cauldrons: the Master of Primal Chaos, the Master of Fate, and the Master of Space-Time. These 3 supreme existences should each have a heaven-shattering cauldron. After all, when Yi Xian had created his own world, he had seen the 3 supreme existences carry the heaven-shattering cauldrons into the depths of the chaos verse. These 3 small cauldrons were undoubtedly among the 3 supreme existences. In addition to the 4 small cauldrons in Yi Xian's possession, there were still 5 heaven-shattering cauldrons that he did not know the whereabouts of. Yi Xian had never imagined that Song Huaimiao would actually say that he knew the whereabouts of the heaven-shattering cauldrons. Boom! Yi Xian suddenly made his move. His 5 fingers grabbed Song Huaimiao's neck and lifted him into the air. His eyes were terrifyingly gloomy. Speak. Where is the heaven-shattering cauldron? Crack. 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 Yi Xian's 5 fingers tightened. Song Huaimiao's neck began to twist irregularly. The crisp sound of his throat bones constantly rang out, as though he was trying to break Song Huaimiao's neck. Northern region. It's in the northern region. Put me down. Song Huaimiao's face turned purple. He was constantly struggling in Yi Xian's hands. His eyes were filled with extreme fear. Yi Xian quickly calmed himself down. He knew that he had been too impulsive. Then he threw Song Huaimiao to the ground. This caused Song Huaimiao to cough violently. Just a moment ago, he thought that he was going to be killed by Yi Xian. Speak. Where is the heaven-shattering cauldron in the northern region? Yi Xian returned to the bamboo chair and sat down. He looked at Song Huaimiao indifferently. His 5 fingers lightly tapped the armrest, constantly emitting rhythmic sounds. I also do not know where the heaven-shattering cauldron is in the northern region. I have been secretly searching for it. But... Song Huaimiao spoke with a trembling voice. But before he could finish speaking, a terrifying great technique landed on his body. He was immediately slapped to the ground. Large amounts of blood spurted out of his mouth. Ah! Song Huaimiao howled miserably. He was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. A terrifying blood light twined around his body, constantly tightening his body. Large amounts of blood seeped out of his body. One could even faintly see the white bones in his flesh. I don't want to waste my breath. I will only give you the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. If I do not obtain a satisfactory result, I will let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. Yi Xian ruthlessly said, I'll speak. I'll speak. As Song Huaimiya howled miserably, Yi Xian finally withdrew his technique. This caused Song Huaimiya to gasp for breath. He quickly revealed the information regarding the heaven-shattering cauldron. It turned out that Song Huaimiya and Taoist Scarlet Flame had come to the Northern Star domain to train. It seemed as if they were avoiding the conflict in the Grand Central region and waiting for the Tsang clan patriarch to retrieve the heavenly beast pills for them. But in truth, this was only one of the reasons. The more important reason was that Song Huaimiya had chosen to come to the Northern Divine region to temper himself. He had obtained a remnant book, and this remnant book had recorded some information regarding the heaven-shattering cauldron. According to the remnant book, there was a heaven-shattering cauldron that belonged to one of the 3 great sects of the Northern Divine region. As for which great sect it belonged to, it was impossible to know. This was because the remnant book was missing too much, and the most crucial information had been destroyed. And according to the remnant book, the heaven-shattering cauldron was the cornerstone treasure of this great sect. It had been safeguarded by successive sect masters. Outsiders had no idea that this great sect had a heaven-shattering cauldron. So according to the remnant book, Song Huaimiya had come to the Northern Star region to investigate which great sect possessed the heaven-shattering cauldron. And this secret was only known to Song Huaimiya. Even Taoist Scarlet Flame, who had followed him all this time, did not know. It had to be said that Song Huaimiya had great ambitions. He had buried this secret in the depths of his heart. He hoped to find the heaven-shattering cauldron himself, and he yearned for the seat of the strongest throughout history. But unfortunately, Song Huaimiya had secretly investigated for a very long time, but he had not been able to find out which great sect the heaven-shattering cauldron belonged to. But he was unwilling to return to the Grand Central region. He began to hesitate as to whether or not he should inform the Tsang clan of this great secret and borrow their hands to attack the 3 great sects of the Northern Divine region to find the heaven-shattering cauldron. Song Huaimiya was truly unlucky. Before he could make up his mind, he had run into Yi Xian. That was why all of this had happened. Where is the remnant book? As Song Huaimiya revealed the whole story, Yi Xian said with a deep look in his eyes, It's here. Song Huaimiya did not dare to tarry. He quickly flipped his hand and took out a remnant book. He quickly handed it to Yi Xian. Yi Xian took it and quickly flipped through it. Chapter 1433. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn passed, Yi Xian slowly closed the book. However, there was no joy on his face. Instead, his brows were furrowed together. Just as Song Huaimiya had said, this book was greatly damaged and only sporadically recorded information about the heaven-shattering cauldron. However, the most important information was missing. The missing information was the location of the heaven-shattering cauldron. According to the book's records, the heaven-shattering cauldron was in one of the 3 great sections. This was a very small area. This was what Yi Xian was glad about. Moreover, this book was extremely ancient. It was at least 100 million years old. Obviously, it was left behind by an unknown cultivator. If Yi Xian's deduction was correct, the person who left behind this book must be someone from the 3 great sects of the northern region. Otherwise, he would not know this secret. However, this was not important. What was important was that Yi Xian was thinking about how to find the heaven-shattering cauldron. After all, the heaven-shattering cauldron was extremely important to him. Not to mention that the heaven-shattering cauldron was related to the secret of opening the door of reincarnation. Just the things contained within the heaven-shattering cauldron were invaluable to Yi Xian. However, the heaven-shattering cauldron was in one of the 3 great sects of the northern region. To determine which sect it was in, Yi Xian needed to investigate further. Moreover, even if he knew where the heaven-shattering cauldron was, facing a great sect, he did not have enough confidence to seize it. Although the 3 great sects of the northern region could not be compared to the great sects of the central region, They still had several Immortal Realm cultivators. Their cultivations were definitely not lower than Taoist Scarlet Flame. The battle between Yi Xian and Taoist Scarlet Flame could be said to be extremely difficult. Yi Xian had to use all his skills to kill him. However, the great sects of the northern region were different. Yi Xian was not only facing an Immortal Realm cultivator, but an ancient great sect. It seemed that he had to plan carefully. Yi Xian's eyes were deep. He had already made up his mind. No matter what price he had to pay, he had to obtain the heaven-shattering cauldron. And all of this began with establishing his sect. Yi Xian, I've said everything I need to say. Can you let me go? Song Huaimia looked at Yi Xian with fear in his heart. He was truly afraid that Yi Xian would explode and kill him. This kind of silent torture almost drove him crazy. I am a man of my word. To the central region, to the northern region, to find me when you obtain the heavenly beast pill. And come to the northern region. Region? Of the northern region. Yi Xian lightly waved his hand. He didn't kill Song Huaimia, but actually let him live. Sir, why didn't you kill him? Gu Beichen blurted out in shock. He never thought that Yi Xian would really let Song Huaimia go. Wasn't this leaving behind a huge hidden danger? The heavenly beast pellet is good stuff. If I want to reach the immortal realm, it won't be easy. The heavenly beast pellet can help me, said Yi Xian with deep eyes. But sir, if this person returns to the Grand Central Territory and tells the Undying Heaven Lord about your whereabouts, then you? Gu Beichen asked worriedly. Hee. Yi Xian laughed. His laughter was filled with disdain. You think too highly of Song Huaimia. He's a coward. He wouldn't dare to expose what happened today. Beichen, don't forget that Daoist Scarlet Flame was his Dao protector. However, Daoist Scarlet Flame is already dead. If he were to return alive and well, he would not be able to shoulder such a responsibility. Moreover, he told me the secret of the heaven-shattering cauldron. If the Undying Heaven Lord finds out about this, he'll die without a complete corpse. Moreover, I've already planted a strand of Bury the Heavens power in his body. If he really dares to expose that I'm still alive, then he'll die too. Everything was under Yi Xian's control. If Song Huaimia was not afraid of death, Yi Xian would definitely kill him. However, a coward would only consider his own interests. Betraying Yi Xian would not benefit him at all. Beichen, you'll temporarily manage the entire Taiyin Sky sect. I'll have to trouble you for the next 3,000 years, said Yi Xian. Yes, sir. Gu Beichen nodded solemnly. Then he bid farewell and left, leaving Yi Xian alone on Snow Bamboo Peak. However, he looked at the sea of clouds in front of him, his eyes growing deeper and deeper. Which sect is the heaven-shattering cauldron in? Yi Xian muttered to himself. He sank into deep thought, constantly calculating his next plan. Time was like water, passing in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, 1,000 years had passed. Yi Xian cultivated in Snow Bamboo Peak every day, constantly comprehending the opportunities of the Dao integration realm. However, the three realms of the Dao querying realm had nothing to do with one's cultivation level. One needed opportunities and comprehension to step into the next realm. Yi Xian was very anxious. He was very anxious to step into the Dao integration realm. After all, the matter of establishing a sect was imminent. If he did not have a strong cultivation level, how could he face the three great sects of the northern region? On this day, Yi Xian sat cross-legged on the mountain peak, breathing in and out. His body was surrounded by a gray light, making people feel illusory when looking at him from afar. Sir, I've succeeded. I've succeeded. Suddenly, a rainbow light shot over from the horizon. Fatso Huang was holding a treasured gourd in his hand. His face was flushed with excitement, as if he had encountered something joyous. Yi Xian slowly opened his eyes. Fatso Huang had already arrived in front of him. He excitedly offered the treasured gourd to Yi Xian and said, Sir, I've sacrificially refined Taoist Qi Yan's soul for 1,000 years. I've finally refined 3 elemental spirit pills. If you take these pills, you may be able to comprehend the opportunity to step into the Dao integration realm. Oh, Yi Xian's eyes lit up. He took the treasured gourd in his hand. As he pulled out the stopper, He directly poured out 3 golden pills. An extremely fragrant smell filled the air, immediately lifting Yi Xian's spirit. What a good elemental spirit pill! Even though Yi Xian had seen many miraculous pills, but just by smelling the fragrance of these pills, Yi Xian knew that these 3 pills were absolutely extraordinary. Hearing Yi Xian's praise, Fatso Huang suddenly became somewhat proud and said, "Sir, don't look at my cultivation base these years. In the aspect of alchemy, I'm blessed by the heavens. This elemental spirit pill is extremely difficult to refine. It requires one to put their soul into the pill furnace and refine it with heavenly lightning and earthly fire for 999 years. During these 999 years, the soul cannot be destroyed. Then, it is refined with more than 8,000 kinds of heaven and earth spirit essences. When the pill is formed, the soul must be destroyed. Only then can the pill be successfully refined." Although Fatso Huang's explanation was simple, Yi Xian could feel that refining these 3 elemental spirit pills had consumed a lot of Fatso Huang's painstaking efforts. But fortunately, Taoist Qi Yan's soul is in the immortal realm. It can withstand the bombardment of heavenly lightning and earthly fire for 999 years. Otherwise, if it was someone else, it would be impossible to refine these elemental spirit pills. Fatso Huang said with a sigh. "You've worked hard," Yi Xian said with a light sigh. Chapter 1434. "Mister, what are you talking about? You should quickly take this pill and see if you can step into the path integration realm." Fatso Huang said expectantly. "Okay." Yi Xian did not hold back and directly swallowed an elemental spirit pill. He was also looking forward to this pill helping him. Boom! Suddenly, a clear aura erupted from Yi Xian's body. He sat cross-legged with his eyes closed and began to refine the effects of the elemental spirit pill. It had to be said that this pill was refined from Taoist Scarlet Flame's soul. Although it did not improve his cultivation, it was extremely beneficial to Yi Xian's soul. A faint enlightenment gradually appeared in his mind. After 3 days and 3 nights, the clear aura around Yi Xian dissipated. He slowly opened his eyes, but there was still a trace of disappointment in his eyes. Failed. Fatso Huang looked depressed. He originally coveted the elemental spirit pill to help Yi Xian step into the path integration realm. But now it seemed that Yi Xian did not have any movement. Obviously he had failed. The 3 realms of Dao querying have nothing to do with cultivation. Even if there is an elemental spirit pill that can improve one's soul power, enlightenment is enlightenment. It will not work with the help of pills. But you don't have to be discouraged. Although I can't perceive the opportunity to enter the path integration realm, I have vaguely grasped the signs. It is only a matter of time before I step into the path integration realm. Yi Xian comforted. "Mister, take the remaining 2 pills. I think it will help." Fatso Huang said anxiously. "1 pill is enough. Even if I take the remaining 2 pills, they will have no effect on me. You and Beichen take 1 each. This pill can improve your cultivation aptitude. It is the right choice for both of you to take it." Yi Xian casually handed the pills to Fatso Huang, which made Fatso Huang extremely helpless. The problem now is the founding ceremony. You and Beichen's cultivation bases are still too weak. So the 2 of you need to speed up your cultivation, Yi Xian said solemnly. "Don't worry, sir. The 2 of us have been cultivating diligently. Moreover, we have already sent out the invitations according to your instructions. We can only wait until the founding ceremony 2,000 years later. I'm just worried that the 3 major churches of the northern region will cause trouble during the founding ceremony," Fatso Huang said with a heavy tone. "I'm not afraid of them coming. I'm just afraid that they won't come. That way, I can save a lot of effort," Yi Xian said with a cold smile. Time was like water, passing in the blink of an eye. Finally, in the remaining 2,000 years, the people of the 5 sects all moved to the Supreme Yin Heavenly Sect. The millions upon millions of miles of Mount Han could be said to be extremely lively. The disciples of the 6 sects were all setting up the venue, only waiting for the sect establishment ceremony to officially begin a year later. Establishing a sect. This was not a simple matter. It was a major event that shook the entire region. Even in the central domain, the establishment of a major orthodoxy was an extremely grand event, let alone in the bitter cold of the northern region. News of the establishment of the celestial court spread throughout the northern star domain. All the major orthodoxies received invitations. Of course, Yi Xian also sent out invitations to the 3 major sects of the northern region. There was still a year before the opening ceremony. The disciples who sent out the invitations returned one after another. However, the disciples who went to the 3 major sects of the northern region still had not returned. Snow Bamboo Peak. Yi Xian sat cross-legged on a cliff. His eyes were slightly closed as he slowly breathed in and out. A ring of misty gray light undulated around his body. His aura was also extremely unpredictable. For 3,000 years, Yi Xian had been studying himself and the primal chaos universe. The so-called primal chaos universe was the fusion of heaven, earth and man. Only then could one step into the primal chaos universe. Yi Xian understood the principle, but he had no clue how to do it. He had once studied the principles of the primal chaos universe and examined his compatibility with the primal chaos universe. However, he helplessly discovered that his path of cultivation was completely opposite to the primal chaos universe. The so-called fusion of heaven, earth and man was simply a joke. Yi Xian only believed in himself. He had no faith in the primal chaos universe, because he believed that only when he was invincible in this world would he be truly eternal. What is the primal chaos universe? Yi Xian slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was blank as he pondered this question bitterly. However, no matter how hard he tried, he still couldn't find an answer. Battle prowess and cultivation were both indispensable. Yi Xian knew that he was strong enough to fight an immortal who had opened the second gate of heaven. He could even use all of his skills to kill them. However, battle prowess was ultimately linked to cultivation. If he remained in the Tao comprehending realm, it would be the greatest shackle for Yi Xian. Sir! Sect Master! Suddenly, several hurried voices rang out. The 5 sect masters shot over. Gu Beichen and Fatso Huang were among them. Everyone had a grave expression on their faces. What happened? Yi Xian dispelled his troubled thoughts. He frowned slightly as he looked at Fatso Huang and the others. Clearly, Yi Xian saw the grave expressions on their faces. They're dead. Sect Master. The disciples we sent to the 3 great sects of the northern region are all dead. Sect Master Jiu Chu said solemnly. Sir, what should we do? Fatso Huang asked with a grim expression. Sect Master, I think we should postpone the establishment of our sect. This is clearly a warning from the 3 great sects of the northern region. Sect Master Flying Saint said fearfully. Dead. Yi Xian smiled. He slowly stood up from his cross-legged position. Then, with his back to the crowd, he looked at the sea of clouds in front of him and said in an unfathomable voice, It's good that they're dead. If they weren't, I really don't know how to stir up chaos in the northern star region. Looking at Yi Xian's back and listening to his unfathomable words, the crowd was slightly puzzled. They did not know what Yi Xian was thinking at this moment. Sect Master, the 3 great sects of the northern region killed the messengers we sent. It's obviously a warning to us. Moreover, I'm afraid that the orthodoxies of the northern region may not be able to attend our establishment ceremony. After all, the 3 great sects of the northern region have been accumulating power for many years. If they really come to attend this ceremony, I'm afraid they'll be labeled as members of the celestial court. Sect Master Corpse Kue analyzed the situation. Yi Xian's lips curled into a strange smile. Then, he slowly turned to look at the crowd and said, The establishment ceremony in a year's time will continue as usual. It doesn't matter whether they come or not. Yes, Sect Master. The 5 sect masters looked at each other and saw the heavy look in each other's eyes. However, they still bowed and accepted the order. A year later, at the heavenly Een mountain, magnificent and vast, divine light filled the sky, and a beautiful sacred sound resounded between heaven and earth. There was even the rumbling of an ancient bell. The vast heavenly Een sacred mountain was filled with the disciples of the 6 sections. At the peak of the sacred mountain, there was a large black flag that fluttered in the wind. The Celestial Court. The original Heavenly Yin Palace had been changed into the Celestial Court. Jade palaces rose from the ground, and celestial clouds swept across the sky. Many female cultivators danced in the clouds, and from time to time, a rain of flowers would fall from the sky, rendering the entire Heavenly Yin mountain solemn and magnificent. The main seat in the center, Yi Xian sat at the top, and on his two sides were Gu Beichen and Fatso Huang. Below him were the sect masters of the 5 great sections. The rest of the people were elders of the 6 great sects, and the weakest among them was at the Yin-Yang realm. Chapter 1435. It had to be said that the celestial court formed by the 6 sects was comparable to the 3 major sects of the North region. Other than the fact that they did not have any immortal realm cultivators, they were not inferior to the 3 major sects of the North region. It could be said that after the 6 sects merged, the celestial court could dominate the entire North region, as long as the 3 major sects of the North region did not interfere. No sect could stop them. Arrival of the Sky Leader sect. Arrival of the God Down sect. Arrival of the Earth Leader sect. Arrival of the Mountain River Everlasting sect. Following the voice of the disciple who came to welcome them, dozens of figures entered the ceremony. Each of them held a so-called gift in their hands. These people were dressed in different clothes. They were obviously the representatives of the major sects of the North region. However, upon closer inspection, these people's cultivation was extremely weak. They were just ordinary disciples of their respective sections. Obviously, these sects were just going through the motions. They did not want to offend the celestial court, so they sent their disciples here to answer to the celestial court. After all, the 3 major sects of the North region had existed since ancient times. They were the 3 giants that ruled the entire North region. In the eyes of the major sects of the North region, the 6 sects merged to form a major sect was no different from courting death. It had been almost 300 million years since the beginning of the 10th Eon. It was not that no one wanted to form a major sect during this time. However, before these forces could rise, they were all destroyed by the 3 major sects of the North region. To put it bluntly, there could only be 3 major sects of the North region in the North Star region. Although they did not agree with each other, they had a common understanding on this matter. They would never allow a 4th major sect to appear. Congratulations to sect leader Yi for establishing the Celestial Court. May the Celestial Court prosper and prosper. All kinds of congratulations came from the sect's representatives. However, these people spoke too casually. They casually placed the gifts on the ceremonial table, and then fell silent. It was obvious that they were absent-minded. Obviously, the sect's representatives knew that this was just a formality. They did not really think that the Celestial Court's establishment of a sect was a joke. Humph. Gu Beichen's expression was cold. It was obvious that he was about to lose his temper. However, before he could do anything, Yi Xian patted his shoulder calmly and motioned for Gu Beichen to calm down. The ceremony officially begins. Thump, thump, thump. As Fatso Huang's voice resounded throughout the Heavenly Yin Divine Mountain, 81 bells rang out consecutively, and the excited cheers of the disciples of the 6 sects could be heard. The ceremony was very simple. The main thing was for the sect master to announce the establishment of the sect. Then he would bow to the chaos heaven and earth 3 times. After that, he would hold a banquet for the guests. The ceremony was considered complete. Yi Xian handed a piece of ceremonial paper to Yi Xian. He calmly picked it up and prepared to read out the founding of the Celestial Court. However, at that moment, 3 rays of light suddenly shot over from the horizon, accompanied by wild laughter. How dare you, little 6 sects? How dare you dream of establishing a great sect? Aren't you afraid that the 6 sects will cease to exist in the northern region in an instant? Chi. 3 streaks of rainbow light landed in the center of the venue. The 3 of them were dressed in black, white and blue robes. Their cultivation levels were all in the Tao querying realm. At that moment, they were looking at the people from the various sects with arrogance. When the 3 of them appeared, the expressions of the various sects' representatives changed. They hurriedly bowed and greeted the three of them. Greetings, emissaries of the three sections. The representatives of the various sects bowed humbly. This made the emissaries of the three sects look arrogant. Only then did they look at Yi Xian. I heard that your name is Yi Tian. Not only did you kill the master of the Heavenly Yin Divine Sect, you even defeated Li Tsangtian. That's how you managed to unify the 6 sections. You are indeed capable. The emissary of the North Dark Sect sneered. Yi Tian, we don't want to talk nonsense with you. The three of us are here on the orders of the 3 great sect masters. We order you to disband the 6 sects immediately. The emissary of the North Dark Sect said coldly. You're just in the Dao querying realm. You're in the same realm as me. Who gave you the courage to establish a sect? Are you not afraid of death? The emissary of the goddess sect was a cold woman. She wore a white palace dress and gave off a holy and cold feeling. At that moment, she was scolding Yi Xian loudly. How dare you? Gu Beichen let out an explosive shout. His expression was ice-cold and stern. These 3 people simply ate the guts of dragons and phoenixes. They actually dared to speak to Yi Xian with such contempt. Gu Beichen had already sentenced the 3 of them to death. Hee, I'm sure that you'll die miserably. In the next moment, Fatty Huang laughed sinisterly as the corners of his mouth curved into a sinister and cruel smile. No one understood Yi Xian better than him. These 3 people would probably regret coming here. You're courting death. The 3 emissaries were furious. They directly ignored Yi Xian and the 5 great sect masters and attacked Fatso Huang and the North Dark Sect with 3 great techniques. Immediately the world rumbled and shook. Bang! Sect Master Juku took a step forward. Her slender hand flipped the sky and blocked the 3 emissaries' attacks calmly. Then she returned to Yi Xian's side. Sect Master Juku, how dare you go against the 3 great sects of the North Territory? The North Dark Sect emissary's face was red as he scolded Sect Master Juku. Yi Tian, if you're smart, immediately disband your so-called celestial court. That way, you can still keep your life. Otherwise, when the 3 great sects of the North Territory take action, you and your so-called celestial court will be burned to the ground. The emissary of the goddess sect scolded loudly. Now, the emissaries of the 3 great sects are here to persuade you. You still have a chance to disband the celestial court. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences, the underworld emissary said coldly. At this moment, Yi Xian's figure didn't move as he indifferently sat in the middle of the main seat. He only looked at the 3 envoys with an extremely indifferent gaze that didn't contain the slightest bit of human emotion, as if he was looking at 3 flies. Kill them, cut off their heads, and send them back to the 3 great sections. Say that it's a greeting gift from me to the 3 great sections. Yi Xian calmly waved his hand at the 5 great sect masters, as if he was saying something very casual. You dare? The emissaries of the 3 great sects were startled at first. Then, they looked at Yi Xian furiously. They had thought that Yi Xian would be terrified, and even beg for mercy. Then, they would reprimand Yi Xian, which would easily make Yi Xian disband the celestial court. Then, they would go back to report to their superiors. But now, it seemed that things were not as they had thought. How could they not be angry? Sect Master. These 3 people are emissaries of the 3 great sects of the North Territory. If you kill them, the 3 great sects of the North Territory. The Flying Saint Sect Master hesitated and looked troubled. Kill them. The next moment, Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and his face darkened instantly. The Flying Saint Sect Master's expression also changed. Only then did he remember that Yi Xian was an extremely fierce and terrifying person. Die. Before the Flying Saint Sect Master could make a move, Sect Master Corpse Kuei instantly appeared in front of the 3 emissaries. The terrifying corpse light slammed toward the 3 emissaries. With his cultivation of the Tao integration realm, how could the 3 emissaries resist him? Bang! With just one blow, the 3 emissaries cried out in pain, and were instantly knocked to the ground by Sect Master Corpse Kuei. The other 4 Sect Masters also made a move. They all secretly regretted that they had not made a move earlier, and allowed Sect Master Corpse Kuei to show his loyalty. No, Don't kill me. How dare you? The three emissaries coughed out large mouthfuls of blood and screamed. Their faces were filled with fear. However, the four sect masters arrived in an instant and used their terrifying skills to blow them up on the spot. 3 bloody heads rolled on the ground. The 3 emissaries died with their eyes wide open. Even though they did not close their eyes before they died, they could not understand why they would lose their lives here. It was supposed to be an extremely easy mission. Chapter 1436. The strong were like the sky while the weak were like dogs. This was the cruel law of survival. The strong always controlled the fate of the weak. The so-called rules were set by the strong while the weak could only follow the rules set by the strong. When the weak did not follow the rules set by the strong, the only outcome for the weak was death. The messengers of the 3 sects were the best example. Send their heads to the 3 sections. Tell them that I will visit the 3 sects in the future to seek advice from the 3 sects, Yi Xian said calmly. 3 bloody heads were sent to the 3 sects of the North region. The representatives of the various sects who witnessed the sudden change kept quiet out of fear. The entire venue of the founding ceremony was dead silent. At this moment, the representatives of the various sects finally realized that the merger of the 6 sects into one sect of the Celestial Court was not a joke. It was truly about to rise in the North Star region. Yi Xian killed without hesitation. He did not leave any face for the 3 sects of the North region at all. This was also a declaration of war against the 3 sects of the North region. An extremely oppressive atmosphere grew. The representatives of the various sects were silent with heavy expressions. An extremely ominous premonition was growing. They were very sure that the North region would be in chaos soon. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, just as the atmosphere was extremely heavy, a loud laughter was heard. A white-robed old Taoist slowly walked over from the horizon. It was obvious that the laughter was coming from him. Sect leader Yi, you are so powerful. You have killed the messengers of the 3 sections. Aren't you afraid that the 3 sects of the North region will join forces and destroy your orthodoxy? The white-robed old Taoist spoke as he appeared in the center of the venue. He even sized up Yi Xian with a strange gaze. However, with the appearance of the white-robed old Taoist, the 5 sect leaders' expressions changed. Great fear flashed across their eyes because the person who came was extremely fierce. Who are you? Yi Xian looked at the white-robed old Taoist indifferently and squinted his eyes slightly. This white-robed old Taoist's cultivation was not simple. He was actually an existence of the immortal realm. His cultivation should be similar to Li Tsangtian's. Sect Master, this man is the White-Bone Taoist. He reached the immortal realm 1,000,000 years ago. He's a great demon in the North region. You have to be careful. Jiuqiu suzerain transmitted his voice and told him the man's identity. Greetings, Sect Master Yi. I heard that you established the Celestial Court, so I came uninvited. I hope you don't blame me. The white-boned Taoist chuckled with a peaceful look on his face. He didn't look like a terrifying old devil at all. Instead, he gave off a sage-like vibe. So it's fellow Taoist Whitebone. Please take a seat. Now that a sempiternal realm expert had arrived, Yi Xian appeared very calm. He directly invited the white-boned Taoist to take a seat. Sect Master Yi, aren't you going to ask me why I'm here? The white-boned Taoist did not move, but a playful smile appeared on his face. No matter why you're here, today is the grand ceremony of the Celestial Court. As long as you're not here to cause trouble, the Celestial Court will welcome you and treat you with respect, Yi Xian said calmly. Sect Master Yi is indeed broad-minded. However, Li Tsangtian is my good friend. I heard that you killed him, so I'm here to seek justice for my good friend. The peaceful smile on the white-boned Taoist's face disappeared. It was replaced by a gloomy and cold look. White light rippled on the surface of his body, and a wisp of sempiternal realm aura spread out. It seems that you're here with ill intentions? Yi Xian said calmly. Yi Daoyu, I see that you're only in the Dao comprehending realm. I don't believe that you can kill Li Tsangtian. Today, I just want to ask you for advice. Qi. The white-boned Taoist didn't waste any time. White light burst out, and his immortal realm aura rolled across the sky. He directly cast the Immortal Realm Great Technique and attacked Yi Xian. "Mr. Be careful." Although he knew that Yi Xian wouldn't be in danger, Gu Baichen couldn't help but remind him. Bang! Yi Xian didn't move as he raised his 5 fingers. The Immortal Great Technique that the White-Bone Taoist had struck towards him was directly crushed by him. The dense white waterfall turned into green smoke in his hand as he looked at the White-Bone Taoist with indifferent eyes. Hiss! When Yi Xian casually blocked the White-Bone Taoist's attack, the various sects' representatives gasped. The White-Bone Taoist's expression changed slightly, and a dignified look flashed across his eyes. "Take one of my attacks too." Boom! The void exploded. Yi Xian flicked his finger, and a wisp of terrifying heaven burial light appeared on his fingertip. Then, it shot towards the White-Bone Taoist with an ear-piercing boom. Facing Yi Xian's attack, the White-Bone Taoist's expression changed drastically. Yi Xian was only in the Tao comprehending realm, but his casual attack was definitely not weaker than his. Go! The White-Bone Taoist didn't dare to be careless. He summoned the White-Bone 9-section staff, and quickly used it to block in front of him. Bang! Chi! Heaven and earth exploded and the ground cracked. The White-Bone 9-section staff cracked like a spider web. The White-Bone Taoist's figure retreated rapidly, and the ground under his feet was sketched out a huge trench. He retreated for a full 1,000 feet before stopping. Not bad. How about you take one of my attacks? Boom! Yi Xian stood up from the sect leader's throne. The terrifying heaven burial light surrounded his body, and waves of terrifying fluctuations spread out. Bang! 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 Heaven and earth violently shook, and the mountains shook. Even the mountains within hundreds of millions of miles shook slightly. Yi Xian slowly raised his hands, as if he was lifting the ancient dome of heaven. The incomparably heavy suppressive force filled the sky and earth. Just a glance at it made one's soul tremble to the extreme. Rumble! The heavenly Een mountain was shaking, and the clouds in the sky were collapsing. Yi Xian's hands were glowing. This was an unparalleled light, and even more so the light of suppression. His face was cold and indifferent, and his eyes were rotating endlessly. It was as if this attack could cause the destruction of heaven and earth. Sect leader Yi, please calm down. I was just joking with you. Why do you have to make such a big fuss? The White-Bone Taoist instantly panicked. He knew that he had gone too far. The White-Bone Taoist was sure that he was definitely not a match for Yi Xian's terrifying aura. If Yi Xian's attack really landed, even if he didn't die, he would definitely be severely injured. This was not the result he wanted to see. I hate joking. Moreover, is this the place for you to joke? Boom! Dominating the mountains and rivers, suppressing heaven and earth. The phantom of a heavenly divine mountain appeared in Yi Xian's hands. The boundless clouds in the sky were rolling, and the astral winds were howling. Although the phantom of the heavenly divine mountain wasn't big, it was condensed by Yi Xian's combat strength. This attack was definitely not something the White-Bone Taoist could withstand. Suppress! The 6 desires were emotionless, and heaven and earth were heartless. Yi Xian's hands suddenly fell. The heavenly divine mountain rumbled, and with a mighty force that could destroy heaven and earth, it suppressed the White-Bone Taoist. You old things, this is all your fault. Why aren't you attacking? Do you want to watch me die here? Chapter 1437. In the face of Yi Xian's crushing attack, Taoist White-Bone stomped his feet and cursed. He even unleashed all of his cultivation to block Yi Xian's attack. However, his eyes were filled with regret. If he had known that Sect Master Yi was so terrifying, he would not have stood out. Otherwise, he would not have landed himself in such a dangerous situation. Yi Daoyu, please calm down. White-Bone means no harm. Fellow Taoist, please calm down. Fellow Taoist, please stop. Suddenly, 3 deep voices sounded out. Ripples appeared in the air, as 3 figures instantly appeared beside the White-Bone Taoist. The terrifying immortal force slapped out with a flip of their hands, all of them heading towards Yi Xian's annihilation attack. Bang! Heaven and earth exploded and the mountains and rivers shook. This attack turned the sky and earth upside down. The entire heavenly Een mountain was exploding, as if it would collapse at any time. Freeze! Yi Xian stretched out his 5 fingers and froze the entire heavenly Eam mountain. The aftershock of this attack spread out in all directions. Countless mountains were turned into ashes, proving how terrifying this attack was. A large amount of smoke and dust dissipated, and 3 people wearing strange clothes appeared. One of them was wearing a red robe. He had a head full of red hair, and was surrounded by an unknown flame. His eyes were like copper bells, and he gave off an extremely ferocious vibe. One of them was wearing a green robe. His skin was purple, and his fangs were exposed. His eyes were dark green and sinister. At first glance, one could tell that he was not a kind person. The last person was wearing a 9-colored robe. She was a woman and a peerless beauty. However, her red lips were too red, and it completely destroyed her beauty. It made one's hair stand on end, as if they were being stared at by a beautiful snake. Who are you guys? Looking at the 3 people in front of him and the white-boned Taoist, these 4 people were all at the immortal realm. Moreover, this woman in 9-colored clothes was even at the immortal realm when she opened the first heaven gate. This caused Yi Xian's eyes to narrow slightly as a strange expression flashed through his eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. Actually, Yi Xian had already sensed the existence of the 4 of them from the very beginning. However, he didn't expose them, and directly ordered the 5 great sects to take over the 3 envoys. This was also killing a chicken to scare the monkeys, and could be considered as giving the 4 of them a show of strength. Now that the 4 Immortal Realm experts had all appeared, and they did not look like good people, Yi Xian naturally had some ideas. They were the so-called Great Demons of the North region. It was mentioned before that when the 6 sects united to establish the Celestial Court, the strength of the middle and lower levels of the 6 sects were not weaker than the 3 great sects of the North region. However, Yi Xian was the only one with high-end combat strength. This was a fatal flaw. Yi Xian was a scheming person, so he naturally considered this fatal flaw. However, even a clever woman couldn't cook without rice, so he had no way of solving it. Before the founding ceremony, Yi Xian had wanted to subdue some demons for his own use to strengthen the Celestial Court. This would also increase the high-end combat strength of the Celestial Court. Now, before Yi Xian could look for these demons, 4 great demons had come knocking on his door. This was exactly what Yi Xian wanted. If he could recruit the 4 great demons in front of him into the Celestial Court, he would have enough confidence to stir up chaos in the North region. He would not dare to say that he could compete with the 3 great sects of the North region, but he would not be too weak. Sect Master Ye's cultivation is at the Tongtian level. We admire you very much. Taoist Crimson Demon said in a low muffled voice. He cupped his hands and bowed to Yi Xian. White Bones was just joking with Sect Master before. I hope Sect Master Yi doesn't take it seriously. Taoist Green Ghost said in a sinister voice. He smiled at Yi Xian. However, his smile was too ugly. It was better not to smile. Sect Master Yi, please don't blame us. The 4 of us came with no evil intentions. We just want to make friends with you. Taoist White Bones smiled awkwardly. He was trembling with fear just now. If the 3 old demons did not help him, he would have been injured by Yi Xian. Qilian Demonis covered her mouth and giggled. When we heard that Li Tsang Tian was killed by cult leader, we didn't believe it at first. Now that we've seen cult leader in person, we know that you are indeed worthy of your reputation. I also want to befriend cult leader Yi. As the saying goes, one does not slap a smiling face. Since the 4 old demons showed goodwill, and they were all in the immortal realm, Yi Xian naturally would not treat them coldly. So it was just a misunderstanding. For Dao friends, please take a seat. After the sect establishment ceremony ends, I will hold a banquet to welcome you all. Yi Xian smiled and invited the 4 old demons to take a seat. The representatives of the various sects frowned, and the smiles on their faces were extremely stiff. They only wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. It was no wonder that the representatives of the various sects were so nervous. These 4 old demons were famous in the North region for being ruthless and difficult to deal with. Moreover, the 4 of them had a common characteristic. They had all offended the 3 great sects of the North region, and were on the must-kill list of the 3 great sections. However, even though the 3 great sects of the North region were giants, and the 3 overlords of the North Star Starfield, these 4 old demons were still in the immortal realm. Moreover, their methods were vicious and ruthless. After so many years, they were still living well in the North region. Today, the 4 old demons were here for no good reason. Now that the 6 sects had merged into one to establish the Celestial Court, the 4 old demons were probably here for something to think about. The sect establishment ceremony proceeded in an orderly manner. After Yi Xian read the eulogy, the ceremony ended in just the time it took for an incense stick to burn. After the representatives of the various sects congratulated the establishment of the Celestial Court, they left one after another. Obviously, they were going to return to their sects and inform them of what had happened today. Yi Xian naturally wouldn't ask these ants to stay. Although today's sect establishment ceremony was a little quiet, it wasn't important to Yi Xian. He was just going through the formalities. His ultimate goal was to tell the various forces of the North region that the Celestial Court would become the 4th great sect of the North region. The sect establishment ceremony ended hastily, but the 4 old demons didn't leave. Yi Xian warmly invited them to stay, and even set up a banquet to welcome them. On the top of the snow bamboo peak, snow filled the sky, and the north wind was cold. A pine tree was wrapped in silver under the falling snow. Under the snow-covered pine tree, Yi Xian was drinking with the 4 old demons. "This is a top-grade wine that I brought from the Central Territory. Fellow Taoists, please have a taste." Fatso Huang picked up the wine jug and poured wine for the 4 old demons. Yi Xian had a smile on his face as he raised his cup towards the 4. Then he drank all of the wine in his cup. "Good wine, it is indeed good wine." Taoist Crimson Fiend put down his cup and praised. The other 3 also slowly nodded. Clearly, the wine that they drank was definitely a saint-grade wine. "Come, let me give another toast to the 4 of you." Yi Xian once again raised his cup and drank all of the wine. Then he chatted with the 4 old demons. Although the 4 had smiles on their faces, their brows were slightly furrowed, as if they had something on their minds. Yi Xian clearly saw their expressions. This made Yi Xian secretly sneer. He was only rambling and talking nonsense. From time to time, he would exchange cups with the 4 old demons in a completely fake manner. Yi Xian was waiting. He was waiting for the 4 old demons to take the initiative to talk to him. It was obvious that these 4 old devils weren't good people. They were all sinister and vicious people. How could they possibly be here to argue with Yi Xian over a cup of wine? Chapter 1438. Sect Master Ye's cultivation base is profound. Although the North Star Starfield is a large region, a monstrous genius like you shouldn't be buried in the bitter cold of the North Star Starfield. You should be in the Central Star Starfield competing with the other geniuses. The White-Bone Taoist said respectfully, "Although we can be considered as heroes in the North Star Starfield, we know that we are frogs at the bottom of a well. Seeing that your techniques and divine abilities are extraordinary, you must be from the Central Star Starfield, right?" The Green Ghost Taoist probed. The 2 great demons probed. Obviously, they were trying to find out Yi Xian's background. However, Yi Xian kept a smile on his face and said some meaningless words. This made the 4 great demons' eyes flicker. They knew that Yi Xian was also an extremely shrewd person. Leisurely sipping his wine and smiling at each other, this was Yi Xian's attitude. He chatted with the 4 great demons at a moderate pace. This state lasted for half a day. At first, the 4 great demons were able to deal with it calmly. However, as time passed, the 4 of them showed a hint of anxiety on their faces. Sect Master Yi, a straightforward person doesn't resort to insinuations. The 4 of us did come here to make friends with you, but more importantly, we want to see your attitude. The Crimson Witch didn't want to feign civility with Yi Xian anymore. She could see that if they didn't take the initiative to state their intentions, this banquet would last until next year. "My attitude?" Yi Xian pretended to be puzzled. He put down his wine cup and asked with a puzzled expression. "Sect Master Yi, you are a smart person. Not to mention that you killed the 3 envoys. Just the fact that you established the celestial court has already attracted the killing intent of the 3 great sects in the North Star Starfield. Don't you know how dangerous you are right now? The Crimson Demon Taoist said in a deep voice. Since the beginning of the 10th Yuan era, there have only been 3 great sects in the North Star Starfield. After nearly 300 million years, it's not that no one could establish a 4th great sect. However, without exception, they were all destroyed by the 3 great sects in the North Star Starfield. Dao friend, aren't you afraid? The White-Bone Taoist added. Hierarchia's talent is unparalleled, and you are a heaven-defying monster. You can fight against an immortal at the 3rd level of Dao querying. This kind of battle record is unique in the entire northern region. But hierarchy, you have to know that the 3 great sects of the northern region dominate the entire northern region. You establishing the heavenly court is going against them. They won't let you go, Green Ghost said. Yi Xian slowly put down his wine cup. The smile on his face disappeared. He looked at the 4 demons indifferently and said, For Dao friends, you have said so much, but I still don't understand what you mean. Even if the 3 great sects in the North Star Starfield want to destroy my celestial court, my celestial court is not made of mud. As Yi Xian finished speaking, the 4 demons looked at each other and nodded secretly. The White-Bone Taoist lowered his voice and said, Yi Daoyu, although you can fight against an immortal at the Dao-seeking 3rd level, you are only one person. The 3 great sects in the North Star Starfield have more than 10 immortal at the North Star Starfield. Moreover, there is an immortal who has opened the 3rd gate of heaven. How can you fight against them alone? Sect Master Yi, let's not beat around the bush. The 6 great sects indeed have the strength of a great sect. The only thing they lack is high-end battle strength. If Sect Master Yi is willing to form an alliance with the 4 of us, the 3 great sects in the North Star Starfield might not be able to do anything as they wish. The Green Ghost Taoist said with a sinister smile. Yi Daoyu, let's be frank. The 4 of us have been enemies with the 3 great sects in the North Star Starfield for many years. Dao friend, you are also an enemy of the 3 great sections. The enemy of an enemy is a friend. As long as we help each other, we will definitely be able to take root in the North Star Starfield. Even the 3 great sects will have to be wary of us. The Scarlet Witch said seriously. Looking at the serious expressions of the 4 demons, Yi Xian slowly nodded. He seemed to have realized something at this moment and said, So the 4 of you want to form an alliance with me? That's right. Although the 4 of us are rogue cultivators, we are still at the immortal realm. Moreover, the Scarlet Witch has already opened the 1st gate of heaven. Adding you, Brother Yi, we have 5 immortal realm experts. Even the 3 great sects of the North Star Starfield will have to consider the consequences of offending us. They might not be able to bear the consequences. The White-Bone Taoist said proudly. The 4 of you do have a point. Yi Xian nodded approvingly. Then Dao friend agrees? The White-Bone Taoist's face was filled with joy. Their purpose in coming here was to test Yi Xian's cultivation and see if he could fight against immortal realm experts like the rumors said. Secondly, they wanted to form an alliance with Yi Xian. Only then would they be able to resist the oppression of the 3 great sects in the North Star Starfield for many years. At this moment, the 4 demons' eyes were filled with joy because they were certain that Yi Xian would definitely agree. After all, the alliance between them was a good thing that would only benefit them. If they were in Yi Xian's shoes, they would immediately agree. Unfortunately, in the next moment, the joy on the faces of the 4 devils froze. Then, they gradually darkened, and their eyes carried a trace of cold and furious killing intent. It was all because Yi Xian had said something extremely humiliating to them. The 4 of you are nothing but stray dogs that have been hunted down by the 3 great sects of the North Star Starfield all year round. What qualifications do you have to form an alliance with me? The smile on Yi Xian's face disappeared, and his voice instantly turned cold. He was like a completely different person from before. This great reversal made the 4 demons feel like they were in a dream. Bang! Taoist Crimson Demon's temper was the most fiery. He only came back to his senses after 3 breaths of time. Then, He smashed the stone table in front of them into pieces. Yi Tian, don't be so shameless. How dare you humiliate us? Daoist Crimson Demon roared angrily. Yi Daoyu, even if you don't want to form an alliance with us, why do you have to humiliate us like stray dogs? Isn't this a bit too much? Daoist Green Ghost said maliciously. Sect leader Yi, I admire your cultivation. However, we are immortal beings, yet you dare to humiliate us without restraint. Aren't you afraid of dying here today? Daoist Whitebone's eyes turned cold. The three demons were furious. Only Scarlet Witch did not say a word. She only looked at Yi Xian with a cold gaze. Clearly, she was angry in her heart. Hee hee. Looking at the angry faces of the four demons, Yi Xian laughed. However, his laughter was filled with disdain. This made the four demons even more furious. Their immortal energy faintly bloomed on the surface of their bodies. The void around them began to distort strangely. It was as if they could attack Yi Xian at any time. For immortal beings were so terrifying. Even if Yi Xian's battle strength was heaven-defying, he would definitely be defeated if he were to face four immortal beings. At this moment, Fatso Huang's face was filled with anxiety. He didn't know why Yi Xian would provoke the four demons. Even if he didn't want to form an alliance with the four demons, he could have just sent them away. Why did he have to provoke them? Am I wrong to call you stray dogs? Yi Xian spoke in disdain. Without waiting for the four of them to speak, Yi Xian pointed at the Whitebone Taoist and said, Whitebone Taoist, your real name is Bai Shou. You were originally a puppet of the Tong Ming school, and have always been controlled by the Tong Ming school. I don't know where you got the opportunity to cultivate your own intelligence, but you even stole the Northern Chill Elemental Orb of the Northern Nether sect. After many years of cultivation, you barely stepped into the immortal realm, and the Northern Nether sect chased after you all year long. Chapter 1439. You? The Whitebone Taoist's expression changed. He wanted to refute Yi Xian, but he didn't know what to say because Yi Xian was telling the truth. And you? Yi Xian pointed at Green Ghost and sneered. Green Ghost Taoist, you were the left protector of the Underworld sect, but you were rejected by the Underworld Saintess because you fell in love with her. Later on, she married the Underworld Saint's son, and you poisoned him to death on the wedding day. You even tainted the Underworld Saintess, causing the two sects to issue an order to kill you. You're even worse than the Whitebone Taoist, so don't you think you're a stray dog? Bullshit. I was the one who poisoned you, but I didn't kill the Underworld Saint's son. It was that bitch, the Underworld Saintess, who framed me and said I tainted her purity. I must kill this bitch. Green Ghost Taoist lost his cool and roared at Yi Xian. And you, Crimson Demon? Yi Xian ignored Green Ghost Taoist's roar and ignored him. He pointed at Crimson Demon again and said, even though you're not from the three sects, you're extremely daring. For the sake of your own cultivation, you slaughtered the disciples guarding the spirit veins of the three sections. No one survived. In the end, the three sects found out that it was you who did it. It can be said that you've been hunted by the three sects for years. Don't you think you're a stray dog? You're right. Taoist Crimson Fiend roared darkly. However, if we cultivators want to become powerful in this bitterly cold place, then we have to fight for it. The three sects control the cultivation resources of the northern region. They forced me to do this. Clap, clap, clap. Suddenly, a series of claps was heard. The Scarlet Witch, who had been silent for a long time, slowly stood up. She looked at Yi Xian and said, in such a short time, you were able to find out the background of the three demons. I'm truly impressed. At this point, Scarlet Serpent Witch paused for a bit, then continued with a disdainful smile. However, if you think that you can make us lose our minds just because you know our background, then you are underestimating us too much. No, no, no. Yi Xian repeatedly waved his hand as he looked at the Scarlet Witch with a smile and said, how could I possibly want you to lose your minds? I just know you guys very well, and I have great admiration in my heart. After all, after being chased by the three great sects of the northern region for so many years, you fellows are still able to chat with me while drinking wine. Just this point alone is enough to make me admire you. Yi Xian paused for a moment as he spoke. He looked at the Scarlet Witch with a playful expression and said, "However, although I admire the three of you, the person I admire the most is still you, fellow Taoist Qi Lian." "Me?" Scarlet Witch frowned as a hint of panic flashed through her eyes. It was not strange for Yi Xian to know about the three demons. After all, the three demons had a grudge against the three great sects of the north. He could easily find out about it if he asked around. However, Scarlet Witch's story was kept a secret. Very few people knew about it. However, when she saw Yi Xian's playful expression, the Scarlet Witch's heart trembled. She felt as if she was standing naked in front of Yi Xian, as if he knew all the secrets on her body. Of course it's fellow Taoist Qi Lian, because fellow Taoist is truly ruthless. He even slaughtered his own master, senior sister and junior sister. Moreover, fellow Taoist only did it for a man. "You're lying." Suddenly, the Scarlet Witch seemed to have received some sort of stimulation. Her originally calm face instantly distorted, and her beautiful eyes turned completely red. An extremely terrifying aura pervaded the air, and her gaze towards Yi Xian was filled with extreme panic. "I'm lying?" Facing the berserk Scarlet Witch, Yi Xian curled his lips in disdain and said, "Only fellow Taoist Qi Lian knows if I'm talking nonsense or not. However, I do admire fellow Taoist Qi Lian. With fellow Taoist's cultivation and beauty, what kind of man can make you do such a crazy thing? There's a good saying, rage for a beauty. Although this saying is not suitable for you, fellow Taoist, you can use rage for a beauty. This is also a good saying in the northern region. You're courting death." Rumble. Under the provocation of Yi Xian's ridicule, the Scarlet Witch roared in shame and indignation. The 9-poison devil light exploded through the air as it swept towards Yi Xian. From the looks of it, it seemed as if it wanted to grind Yi Xian into dust with a single strike. "You dare to show off your slight skill in front of an expert?" Yi Xian attacked with a bang. His 5 fingers seemed as if they wanted to crush the entire world, as he slapped his palm towards the Scarlet Witch. The terrifying heaven-burying light shook the mountains and rivers, directly shattering the 9-colored poison light, and causing the Scarlet Witch to fly backwards. What kind of joke was this? Yi Xian had defeated Taoist Scarlet Flame, who had opened the second heaven gate, fair and square. Scarlet Witch had only opened the first heaven gate. Under this attack, she was at a disadvantage. Scarlet Witch. The expressions of the 3 devils instantly changed. They instantly caught the Scarlet Witch and returned with a loud bang, directly surrounding Yi Xian in the center. The 4 of them had gloomy expressions that contained an extremely terrifying killing intent. "I advise you not to fight with me. Otherwise, not only will the 3 great sects of the North region hunt you down, even the Celestial Court will treat you as enemies." Facing the 4 devils' encirclement, Yi Xian said calmly, as if he had nothing to fear. It was as if he had already defeated the 4 devils. "Speak, how did you know about my secret?" Scarlet Witch shouted. Not many people knew about her secret. Yi Xian wasn't even from the North region. How did he know about her secret? "You are the saintess of the goddess sect. Because of a man, you killed your master, and even killed your fellow disciples. You have become the greatest humiliation of the goddess sect. It is a miracle that you are still alive." Yi Xian said indifferently. "Speak, how did you know about my secret?" Scarlet Witch shouted in panic. She felt that she had no secrets in front of Yi Xian. This caused her mind to be in a mess. Scarlet Witch's life was extremely miserable. This matter was also her biggest sore point. Today, Yi Xian opened up her wound, causing her to be shocked and furious. "How I know is not important. What is important is that the 4 of you have an irreconcilable feud with the 3 great sects of the North region. You have been hiding everywhere like stray dogs. Today, you came here to form an alliance with me. This might seem beneficial to me, but if the 3 great sects of the North region knew about this, I'm afraid they would not have the heart to attack the Celestial Court. This is because the 4 of you also want to destroy the Celestial Court." Yi Xian said coldly. Hearing Yi Xian's words, the 4 devils gradually calmed down. Although they hated Yi Xian for humiliating them, they had to admit that what Yi Xian said was the truth. Although the 4 of them were immortal experts, They had been hiding in the north region like stray dogs. This was because the three great sects hated them to the bone. Anyone who was related to them would not have a good ending. Chapter 1440. Sect Master Yi. Since you don't want to form an alliance with us, we won't force you. We'll take our leave. The white-boned Taoist was the calmest. He signaled the other three with his eyes, indicating for them to leave with him. In fact, the four demons wanted to kill Yi Xian to vent their anger. However, Yi Xian wasn't a pushover. They could tell that Yi Xian's combat strength was terrifying from his clash with the Scarlet Witch. Even if the four of them worked together, they might not be able to kill Yi Xian. Moreover, if they couldn't kill Yi Xian, they would become enemies with Yi Xian. Although the Celestial Court was a newly established sect, its scale wasn't inferior to any of the great sects in the North region. Moreover, the 5 sect masters were all in the Dao integration realm. If they reached the Immortal realm in the future, they would be in big trouble. Moreover, Yi Xian was already so terrifying even though he was only in the Dao integration realm. If he reached the Immortal realm, he would be able to kill them all by himself. This was the reason why the 4 demons were afraid. The pursuit of the 3 great sects in the North region had already made them breathless. If the Celestial Court joined the fray, no matter how big the North region was, there wouldn't be a place for them to stay. The 4 demons were speechless and were about to leave. However, before they could leave, Yi Xian took a step forward and blocked their path. How dare you come and go as you please? What do you think the Celestial Court is? Yi Xian looked at the 4 demons calmly, as if he had nothing to fear. The 4 demons' expressions changed slightly. They hadn't caused any trouble for Yi Xian yet, but Yi Xian had blocked their path. This was too much for the 4 demons. The white-boned Taoist suppressed his anger and looked at Yi Xian maliciously. Sect Master Yi, since you don't want to form an alliance with us, we naturally don't want to disturb your sect. Why are you blocking our path? The green ghost Taoist also said coldly, people who walk different paths can't work together. Do you think we're easy to bully by blocking our path? Yi Tian, it's not that we're afraid of you. We just don't want to make enemies with you. If you really want to bully us, then we'll teach you a lesson today. The 3 demons were suppressing their anger. The Scarlet Witch stared at Yi Xian fiercely, as if she was ready to fight at any moment. Yi Xian lightly smiled as he looked at the 4 demons' furious expressions. Although you guys aren't worthy of forming an alliance with this sect leader, you can still join the Heavenly Court. From now on, listen to my orders. That's the best of both worlds. A deathly silence. When Yi Xian's words entered their ears, the originally furious expressions of the 4 devils froze. Their faces were filled with astonishment and confusion. This state lasted for a full 10 breaths of time, before they returned to their senses. You're delusional. Do you think you're qualified? At the same time, the 4 demons shouted at the same time. Their faces were filled with anger. They looked at Yi Xian with a mixture of anger and suspicion. It was no wonder the 4 demons were so moved. They didn't expect Yi Xian to be so ambitious. He wanted the 4 of them to join the Celestial Court. This was simply a joke, a huge joke. Joining the Celestial Court meant that they would become Yi Xian's subordinates. They would have to listen to Yi Xian in everything. Under his orders, they would have to fight for Yi Xian. How could the 4 demons submit to an existence in the Immortal realm? Indeed, the 4 demons had been hunted by the 3 great sects of the North. They had been hiding from place to place. Their living conditions were extremely worrying. They had to be careful of the 3 great sects of the North. But it was unacceptable for them to submit to Yi Xian and become Yi Xian's subordinates. The Immortal realm was the upper class in the chaotic world. Any Immortal realm expert could establish a sect. Even the Immortal realm experts in the 3 great sects of the North region were bigwigs. It was reasonable for them to submit to the 3 great sects of the North region. But Yi Xian hadn't even reached the Immortal realm. It was a big joke for them to submit to such a person. It seems that you don't want to? Yi Xian seemed to have already expected this result. However, his expression remained calm, and his face was brimming with an indescribable sense of confidence. Hierarchy. We admit that you have the battle strength of an expert in the immortal realm. You're even stronger than us. But don't you think you're too ambitious, if you want us to join the celestial court? Whitebone Taoist said coldly. Ambitious? Haha. Yi Xian smiled evilly and said, I've never lacked ambition. And I believe that you'll join the celestial court. What a joke. What makes you think you can do that? Red Serpent Witch rebuked coldly. She had long found Yi Xian an eyesore. If not for the fact that she couldn't kill Yi Xian, she would have attacked him. Why would she waste time talking nonsense with Yi Xian? What makes you think I can do that? Yi Xian looked around at the four devils, and the corner of his mouth curled into a strange smile. It's very simple, because I'm able to help all of you annihilate the three great sects of the Northern Territory. And I'm even able to help all of you accomplish the wishes in your hearts. From now onwards, all of you don't have to be in a sorry state, and avoid the pursuit of the three great sects of the Northern Territory. Hearing Yi Xian's words, the four demons were speechless. They looked at Yi Xian, as if they were looking at an idiot. Do you know what you're talking about? Destroy the three great sects of the North region. Do you think you're the strongest of all time? What are you going to do to fulfill our wishes? What makes you think you can do it for us? The four demons sneered after a brief moment of shock. They looked at Yi Xian, as if they were looking at a madman. If it wasn't for Yi Xian's cultivation, they would have thought that Yi Xian was a lunatic. How could he say such ridiculous words? It was no wonder that the four demons didn't believe Yi Xian. It was because Yi Xian's words were too unbelievable and unrealistic. Not to mention other things, even the supreme sects of the Central region would have to suffer great losses if they wanted to destroy the three great sects of the North region. Only the most powerful orthodoxies could do so easily, and Yi Xian hadn't even reached the immortal realm. Even if his combat strength was heaven-defying, it was nothing to the three great sects of the North region. How can you accomplish anything with fear in your heart? Yi Xian looked at the four demons with disdain. I'm not wrong when I say that you're stray dogs. You've been scared silly by the three great sects of the North region. You only have thoughts of running away. You don't even have the courage to fight back. Since you're a bunch of cowards, you can leave now. Let's go. The Whitebone Taoist snorted, and was about to leave with the three demons. However, the Red Serpent Witch said, Wait a moment. I want to hear why sect leader Yi is so confident about destroying the three great sects of the North region. If you can convince us, we can join the Celestial Court and listen to your orders. Red Serpent, you? The Whitebone Taoist frowned. Whitebone Taoist, since we're here, we might as well listen and see what sect leader Yi has to say. The Green Ghost Taoist added coldly. Chapter 1441. I also want to hear Sect Master Ye's opinion. I also want to know how you destroyed the three sects of the northern region. Taoist Crimson Demon said in a deep voice. Alright, then we'll listen to you. Taoist Whitebone did not insist, and the four demons stayed behind. This was human nature. When there was no hope, even the slightest bit of hope would rise in their hearts. This was the case at the moment. Although the four demons did not believe that Yi Xian could destroy the three sects, the slightest bit of hope in their hearts still made them stay. Even if they knew it was impossible, they still wanted to try. This was the so-called human nature. The four demons were hunted down by the three sects of the northern region all year round. Each of them had an irreconcilable enmity with the three sections. If they could really solve this problem, even if they joined the Celestial Court and listened to Yi Xian's orders, it would not be a big deal. The three sects of the northern region, Fairy Sect, Dark Penetrating Sect, and Dark North Sect. These three sects have dominated the northern region for 300 million years. They have practically monopolized all the cultivation resources in the northern region, causing the cultivators of the northern region to kill each other for the meager amount of cultivation resources. Yi Xian said slowly, causing the four demons to frown and listen. Yi Xian continued, but you should also know that the three sects of the northern region are not a monolithic entity. In fact, they hate each other and have conflicts from time to time. It can be said that the three sects have suffered injuries and deaths. You're right, but so what? Your celestial court has violated the interests of the three sects of the northern region. Because of this, the three sects will destroy your celestial court. They will not allow a fourth sect to appear. Moreover, the four of us have a deep hatred for the three sections. It is a situation where we will not rest until one of us is dead. What's the point of saying all this? Scarlet Witch frowned and said, "Ha ha ha." Yi Xian laughed loudly and looked at the four demons with a gaze full of ridicule. "What are you laughing at? Is Scarlet Witch wrong?" Taoist Whitebone said unhappily. "I'm laughing at how stupid you all have become from cultivating. You don't even understand the simplest of human nature." Yi Xian mocked without mincing his words. "What exactly do you want to say?" Green Ghost Taoist frowned and looked at Yi Xian in confusion. The world is bustling with activity for the sake of profit, and the world is bustling with activity for the sake of profit. The so-called three sects of the northern region are among them. As long as there are sufficient benefits, they can be completely divided, and they can even be used to drive the wolf to devour the tiger, and they can be disintegrated and even annihilated one by one. The four of you must remember that it is often not the blade that kills, but the human heart and greed. When the human heart and greed are infinitely magnified, it will cause people to die without a burial ground. Yi Xian smiled as he finished speaking. However, when his smile entered the eyes of the four devils, it instantly caused their hearts to tremble. It was all because the smile on Yi Xian's face was too sinister. Even though they were undying beings, they still felt a chill run down their spines and couldn't help but shiver. If anyone can talk big, who do you think you are? How can you divide the three sects of the north? Scarlet Serpent Witch retorted. The three sects of the north have been at odds since ancient times, but none of them can do anything to each other. There was once a war between the two sects, but in the end, it was left unsettled. Whitebone Taoist continued. Clearly, Yi Xian's plan was too simple. Some people had thought of it before, but the three sects of the north were not stupid. How could they be fooled? Calling you all stupid is not wrong at all. You all. I naturally have my own methods, Yi Xian sneered. Yi Daoyu, what methods do you have? If you can really annihilate the three sects, I, Green Ghost, am willing to serve you. Suddenly, Green Ghost Taoist bowed towards Yi Xian. This also startled the other three demons. They didn't know why Green Ghost Taoist was so kind to Yi Xian. It seems that you are the only smart one among the four of you, Yi Xian praised. He had a whole new level of respect for Green Ghost Taoist. Please enlighten me, fellow Taoist. Green Ghost Taoist bowed. You only see the conflict between the three sects for their own benefits, which is the so-called cultivation resources. However, the real core is not these things, Yi Xian said with narrowed eyes. Sect Master Yi, you mean? Green Ghost Taoist's eyes lit up. He seemed to have grasped a trace of inspiration. His gaze towards Yi Xian began to become hopeful. Yi Xian's gaze was deep. He said in a deep voice, as the saying goes, a mountain cannot hold two tigers, let alone three tigers. The three sects have been hostile to each other for so many years. In fact, they all want to dominate the north and destroy the other two sects to truly become the king of the north. This is the true ambition of the three sections. Boom! Like thunder from the nine heavens, like the waves of the vast ocean, Yi Xian's words reverberated in the ears of the four demons, causing them to be even more stunned. Seeing their stunned expressions, Yi Xian's lips curled into a strange smile. He knew that the four demons had taken the bait. Without waiting for them to come back to their senses, Yi Xian continued. However, even though the three sects have the ambition to dominate the north, and even want to become the king of the north, none of them can do anything to each other. If one side attacks the other, the third sect will benefit from it. This is also the reason why the three sects are in a deadlock. What we need to do is very simple. We just need to break this deadlock. The three sects will definitely be in chaos. At that time, the wolves will devour the tigers. Destroying the three sects will not be a dream, Yi Xian said with a dark voice. That is true, but how can we break the deadlock between the three sects? That's right. How can we start a conflict between the three sects? Please enlighten us, Sect Master Yi. The four demons had already forgotten how Yi Xian humiliated them before. At this moment, they impatiently asked Yi Xian for advice. I told you before that you don't have to use a blade to kill people. Human nature and greed can make people die without a burial place. As long as there are enough benefits, I can use some methods to make the three sects fall into chaos, Yi Xian said with a smile. Please enlighten us, Sect Master, Green Ghost said anxiously. The deadlock between the three sects is nothing more than one side attacking the other, causing a situation where both sides lose, and the other side reaps the benefits. However, the situation is different now. My sect, the Celestial Court, has become the fourth sect. With the addition of the four of you, we can compete with one of the sections. Even if we can't, we won't be too far behind. Therefore, whichever sect we stand with, that sect's strength will skyrocket. We can definitely break this deadlock, Yi Xian explained slowly. But Sect Master Yi, what you said is right. But now, the three sects want to destroy your Celestial Court. This, Green Ghost brought the problem back to the original point. However, this time, Yi Xian smiled evilly and said, therefore, they want to use the benefits that the three sects can't refuse to make the three sects fall into chaos, and even attack each other. They won't have time to work together to destroy my Celestial Court. When the three sects start fighting, the Celestial Court's position will be the most important. I'm afraid that the three sects will come to rope us in, let alone destroy my Celestial Court, Yi Xian said with a gloomy voice. What kind of benefits can make the three sects attack each other? The four demons were puzzled. They couldn't think of any benefits that could make the three sects fall into chaos. They looked at Yi Xian with even more puzzlement. Break the void cauldron. Yi Xian's eyes were deep as he said word by word. Chapter 1442. What? Heaven-shattering cauldron? The four demons gasped and looked at Yi Xian in shock. The words heaven-shattering cauldron were as important as the vault of heaven. As everyone knew, the legend of the heaven-shattering cauldron was widely spread in the chaotic universe. The most popular rumor was that whoever obtained the heaven-shattering cauldron would become the strongest throughout the ages. Of course, this was only a rumor. No one knew if it was true or not. However, the four demons were very clear about one thing. Even the strongest throughout the ages coveted the heaven-shattering cauldron. This proved how important the heaven-shattering cauldron was. At this moment, Yi Xian directly said the words heaven-shattering cauldron. How could the four demons not be shocked? However, after the initial shock, the four demons quickly calmed down. They looked at Yi Xian with eyes full of doubt. Sect Master Yi, could it be that you have the heaven-shattering cauldron? Taoist Crimson Demon probed. A trace of gloominess flashed through his eyes. As the saying goes, wealth can move people's hearts, let alone a legendary treasure like the heaven-shattering cauldron. You are really stupid. How could I have such a treasure? Yi Xian said coldly. This also made Taoist Crimson Demon speechless. He knew that he was overthinking. Yi Daoyu, you mean to say that the heaven-shattering cauldron appeared out of thin air in the northern region, and then incite the three sects to attack each other? That way, you can achieve your goal of destroying the three sects. Taoist Green Ghost instantly understood Yi Xian's idea. That's right. Yi Xian nodded slowly. The heaven-shattering cauldron can indeed incite the three sects to fight each other. However, how do we spread this news? Moreover, the three sects are not fools. How can they believe this rumor? Scarlet Witch frowned. Scarlet Witch's question was also the same as the other three demons. The four of them looked at Yi Xian in confusion, hoping that Yi Xian could give a reasonable explanation. After all, anyone could talk big. However, it was too difficult to carry out this plan. Don't worry. I will personally go to the three sections. At that time, they will naturally believe it. Yi Xian said indifferently. What? You want to go to the three sects of the northern region personally? The four devils blurted out in shock. They didn't expect Yi Xian to be so bold. Wasn't he just throwing his life away? The four of you are really stupid. If I don't go there personally, how can I provoke the conflict between the three sects? This trip seems dangerous, but it's actually just a scare without any real danger, Yi Xian said with a smile. Actually, There was one thing that Yi Xian did not tell the four demons, and he would never tell them anyway. The heaven-shattering cauldron wasn't something he made up out of thin air. It really was in the North region, and it was in one of the 3 sects of the North region. Yi Xian's idea was very simple. Not only did he want to destroy the 3 sects, he also wanted to find the heaven-shattering cauldron and obtain it. The war between the 3 sects was his chance. If he only relied on his cultivation and the celestial court he created to destroy the 3 sects, it would take far too long. Yi Xian simply couldn't afford to wait. Moreover, if Yi Xian guessed correctly, the 3 sects of the north were hostile to each other. The heaven-shattering cauldron was in one of the 3 sections. Yi Xian didn't believe that the other 2 sects didn't know about it at all. After all, the remnant page that Song Huai didn't give him originally came from the north region to the central region. It was impossible for the 3 sects to not know about it at all. They had obviously been secretly searching for the heaven-shattering cauldron all these years. Therefore, Yi Xian was very confident. He believed that as long as he sent this information to the 3 sects, it would definitely cause a conflict between the 3 sections. To put it bluntly, Yi Xian could fabricate that the heaven-shattering cauldron was in one of the sects out of thin air. Then he could sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, becoming the one who would benefit in the end. Sect Master Ye's courage is extraordinary. We admire you. Taoist Green Ghost bowed. It didn't matter if Yi Xian could succeed or not. Just his courage alone was not something they could compare to. Sect Master Yi, since we have already spoken up to this point, then we'll get straight to the point. As long as you can incite a war between the 3 sects, the 4 of us will join the celestial court and listen to your orders. Scarlet Witch coldly said, I second that. I second that as well. Taoist White Bone and Taoist Crimson Demon spoke together. Even though they were shocked by Yi Xian's plan, it was only a plan. Only when it was truly carried out would they be willing to listen to Yi Xian's orders. However, Sect Master Yi said that as long as we join the celestial court, you will be able to fulfill our wishes. I wonder where this came from. Scarlet Witch finally asked the question that she wanted to know the most. Her secret being seen through by Yi Xian was a source of worry for her. In her eyes, Yi Xian was too mysterious. At this moment, she was testing Yi Xian for the last time. The 4 of you have wishes, but I want you to serve me first. I will fulfill your wishes in the shortest amount of time. In the future, the 4 of you will be my dogs. You will bite whoever I want you to bite. Yi Xian spoke in a sinister manner, without the slightest trace of politeness. This caused the 4 devils to be enraged, because Yi Xian actually wanted the 4 of them to be dogs. This was the greatest insult to them. However, the 4 devils didn't erupt. Yi Xian's plan just now had made them excited. At this moment, they could only endure it for the time being. Yi Daoyu, you are truly arrogant and lawless. You actually want us 4 immortals to be your dogs. However, as long as you can fulfill our wrongdoings, so what if we become your dogs? Scarlet Witch coldly said. In her life, the thing that she hated the most was the man who ruined her life. She wanted nothing more than to eat his flesh and drink his blood. If Yi Xian could really help her find this person, she wouldn't mind even if she had to serve Yi Xian to his heart's content. Scarlet Witch, you were originally the saintess of the goddess sect. The man who betrayed you wanted you to help him steal the goddess' holy scripture. However, when you succeeded, you were discovered by your master. You killed your master and your fellow sect members, resulting in your current situation. However, you can rest assured that within 10,000 years, I will help you find him, and you will also become the goddess sect master. Yi Xian evilly smiled and eerily looked at Scarlet Witch. His words were filled with an unquestionable charm. All right. Scarlet Witch slowly nodded. She no longer wanted to know how Yi Xian knew her secret. As long as Yi Xian could accomplish these 2 things for her, she could finally obtain true freedom. Green Ghost Taoist, back then, you were used by the Nether Passage Saintess to frame you for killing the Dark North Saint Sun. Your greatest wish is to skin this bitch alive. I will personally help you kill the Nether Passage Saintess, and even make you the new Nether Passage Sect Master. Yi Xian casually pointed at Green Ghost Taoist. Whitebone Taoist. You were originally a puppet of the Nether Passage sect, and were controlled by them for many years. You have suffered so much. You hate the people of the Nether Passage sect the most. Destroying them is your greatest wish. I will help you fulfill this wish. If you are willing, you can also create a new Nether Passage sect with Green Ghost Taoist. As for you, Red Ghost Taoist, you slaughtered the disciples of the three sects and crazily plundered their cultivation resources. Although your cultivation speed is extremely fast, you are constantly being chased by the three sections. Destroying the three sects can also be considered as solving your biggest problem. At that time, you can establish your own sect and become a sect master in the northern region. Chapter 1443. Yi Xian spoke frankly and made a huge promise to the four demons. This made the four demons' eyes light up, and they were moved by the beautiful future described by Yi Xian. It had to be said that Yi Xian was indeed a master in bewitching people. The four demons had been cultivating for years, so they were extremely unfamiliar with these methods. Although they still did not believe in Yi Xian, they were no longer hostile to Yi Xian. Instead, they were secretly looking forward to it. Since I've promised you two things, you have to do something for me. The Celestial Court has just been established, and the four of you have to oversee the Celestial Court, while I have to go to the three religions of the northern region personally. This isn't too difficult for you, is it? Yi Xian said lightly. As Yi Xian finished speaking, the four demons looked at each other, then nodded and agreed. After all, both sides were mutually beneficial. If they did not perform, it would be unreasonable. Very quickly, Yi Xian and the four devils reached an agreement. The four devils could be considered to have officially joined the heavenly court. When the people from the six sects received this news, the originally heavy atmosphere immediately eased up, and the threat to the three great sects of the northern region became much more relaxed. Snow Bamboo Peak. Yi Xian was dressed in black and stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at the sea of clouds in front of him. A cool breeze blew, causing his hair to flutter gently. From afar, he looked like an elegant immortal. Sir, are you really going to the three religions of the northern region? Fatso Huang and Gu Beichen quietly appeared behind Yi Xian. They frowned slightly and looked at Yi Xian with faint worry in their eyes. One had to know that the three great sects of the northern region were like a tiger's den. Although Yi Xian could fight against immortals, and had even killed Taoist Scarlet Flame, who had opened the second gate of heaven, the three great sects of the northern region didn't only have one immortal. If Yi Xian were to go alone, he'd probably encounter an extremely great danger. I've always done things appropriately. I know what to do and what not to do. I have to go to the three religions of the northern region. This is not only about us becoming the king of the northern region, but also about something extremely important to me. Yi Xian did not mention the heaven-shattering cauldron. Although he trusted Fatso Huang and Gu Beichen, it was not beneficial for them to know this. But sir, you killed the three religions' emissaries. I'm afraid that the three religions of the northern region will destroy the Celestial Court soon. If you go to the three religions of the northern region, you will be in danger. Danger? Yi Xian smiled. His smile was very strange, and there was even a hint of mockery in his eyes. Danger and opportunity always go hand in hand. This time, the three religions of the northern region will treat me as an important guest and try to rope me in. You can rest assured. It won't be long before the northern region falls into chaos. The real show is yet to come. Yi Xian murmured faintly. The next morning, under the gazes of the four demons, Yi Xian turned into a stream of light and rushed into the sky. His target was the three religions of the northern region, and his first stop was the Dark Church. My three friends, do you think he will succeed? Watching Yi Xian disappear into the horizon, the Crimson Witch frowned. There was an extremely complicated look in her eyes. If he dies in the hands of the three religions of the northern region, then we will plunder the resources of the six religions of the northern region and leave this place. If he succeeds, then that will be the best. Taoist Whitebone said gloomily. This person has only comprehended the Tao, but he has the ability to fight against Immortal Realm cultivators. This kind of person is a heaven-defying monster. He should be fighting in the central region. Why would he stay in the northern region? I don't understand. I really don't understand. Taoist Crimson Demon sighed in confusion. This person is extremely mysterious. His spells and abilities are extremely terrifying. He must have an unimaginable origin. I don't know why, but every time I look into his eyes, I feel a sense of fear. I have an extremely strong premonition that his trip to the 3 religions of the northern region this time might really succeed. Taoist Green Ghost said solemnly. Alright, let's wait for his news. If he really dies in the hands of the 3 religions of the northern region, then we will leave this place immediately. The Crimson Witch said coldly. The sky was boundless and space was shuttling. Yi Xian was strolling in the sky. With every step he took, the clouds behind him would dissipate. His speed was simply astonishing. With Yi Xian's current cultivation base and the power of time and space, he didn't dare to say that he was moving at the primal chaos speed. However, it was simply impossible for anyone below the 3rd sky of the Immortal Realm to catch up with him. Yi Xian's first stop was the Dark Penetrating Cult. This was also the decision that Yi Xian made after considering for a long time. The 3 great religions of the northern region were the Dark North Cult, the Dark Penetrating Cult, and the Goddess Cult. These 3 religions had existed since the beginning of the 10th Yuan Hui. It was rumored that the Dark Penetrating Cult and the Goddess Cult were orthodoxies passed down from the previous Yuan Hui. They had an extremely long history. The Dark Penetrating Cult was both righteous and evil. They cultivated the Ghost Dao Grand Arts. To put it bluntly, they specialized in cultivating the soul. Their arts were mysterious and ruthless, and they often killed people without leaving a trace. They could control puppets, enslave ferocious beasts, and even turn dead experts into puppets. They could display an extremely terrifying might. The Dark Penetrating Cult's way of doing things was sinister and ruthless. Moreover, they were best at gathering information about the northern region. This was also the reason why Yi Xian chose the Dark Penetrating Cult. Among the 3 religions, the Dark Penetrating Cult was the most likely to know about the Heavenly Void-Breaking Cauldron. This was also the best choice to instigate a conflict between the 3 religions. Of course, Yi Xian also considered that if the Heavenly Void-Breaking Cauldron was in the Dark Penetrating Cult, he might really be in danger. However, Yi Xian wasn't worried about himself. With his cultivation base, even if he couldn't defeat the Dark Penetrating Cult, the other party wouldn't be able to keep him here. As long as he could confirm that the Heavenly Void-Breaking Cauldron was in the Dark Penetrating Cult, Yi Xian could escape from this place and send this information to the other 2 religions. At that time, it would naturally lead to a war between the 3 religions. With a well-thought-out plan, the overall situation was under his control. Everything was under Yi Xian's control. This trip seemed extremely dangerous, but in fact, it was nothing in Yi Xian's eyes. Everything would go according to his plan. In the vast heavenly palace, a cold wind whistled. Above the dome of the far north, a black heavenly palace appeared. Snow fluttered between heaven and earth, accompanied by a scene of yin qi filling the sky. Just looking at it from afar would make one's heart tremble. Dark Penetrating Cult. One of the 3 overlords of the Northern Territory. This was the Dao field of the Dark Penetrating Cult, and it was also the ancestral land of the Dark Penetrating Cult. Every decree that affected the Northern Star Field came from here. A majestic heavenly gate stood there. The gate was made of black crystals and shone brightly. The terrifying yin qi illuminated this part of the world. From time to time, one could faintly hear the cries of ghosts and the howls of gods coming from all directions. Qi, so close yet worlds apart. Yi Xian suddenly appeared outside the black heavenly gate. With Yi Xian's appearance, the 2 guards guarding the heavenly gate were shocked and pointed their weapons at Yi Xian. Which cultivator dares to trespass into our Dark Penetrating Cult? The 2 guards shouted. Tell your cult master that Yi Xian of the Celestial Court has come to visit fellow Taoist Tong. Yi Xian stood with his hands behind his back, and his voice resounded between heaven and earth. Chapter 1444. The divine might of the heavens and earth was peerless. Even if Yi Xian was only one person, Yi Xian was the brightest star in the starry sky wherever he was. Celestial Court? The two guards exclaimed in shock. They had never heard of any orthodoxy in the northern region that was called the Celestial Court. However, after seeing Yi Xian's extraordinary aura, the two guards did not dare to underestimate him. Wait here. Let me inform the leader. One of the guards quickly left. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, dozens of rainbow lights streaked across the sky and instantly appeared in front of Yi Xian. The leader was a man in a black robe. He sized up Yi Xian with a malicious gaze. His cultivation level was at the Tao querying realm. The leader invites you in. The black-robed man did not say much. He called out to Yi Xian and entered the heavenly gate. This also allowed Yi Xian to follow slowly. However, the dozens of disciples accompanying the black-robed man looked at Yi Xian strangely. The emissary of the three religions was killed, and his head was sent back to the three religions. This could be said to be a declaration of war against the three religions. Over the past few days, Tongming's sect had been discussing how many undying experts they should dispatch to destroy the Celestial Court. However, before the underworld sect could make a move, they never thought that Yi Xian would actually pay them a visit. They were even more astonished. Could it be that Yi Xian had gone crazy? He actually dared to barge into the tiger's den of the underworld sect. My name is Li Yi. I am the current holy son of Tongming sect. I heard that you killed Li Tsangtian with your Tao comprehending realm cultivation level, and even unified the six sects to establish the Celestial Court. I wonder if this is true. The black-robed man strolled forward. From the beginning to the end, he did not turn back to look at Yi Xian. However, his cold voice had already entered Yi Xian's ears. Yet another idiot. Yi Xian calmly walked forward, but a mocking smile appeared on his face. From the moment this black-clothed man appeared, Yi Xian could feel his hostility. This hostility didn't come from the fact that he had killed the messengers of the three religions. Instead, it came from the man in black's suspicion of him. Presumably, this person was the current holy son of the Transcendence cult, and his cultivation base had just entered the path-seeking realm. In the northern star field, he was definitely a heaven-sent genius. In the future, he would be the best candidate to succeed the Transcendence cult. Therefore, Li didn't believe that anyone could be stronger than him. He also didn't believe that Yi Xian could kill an immortal with his Tao comprehension cultivation. In his eyes, this was simply a fantasy. Yi Xian wasn't in the mood to waste his time with such a frog at the bottom of a well. This time, he had come to the Dark Transcendence Church for the heaven-shattering cauldron. Such an ant-like character naturally wouldn't attract his attention. This holy son is talking to you. Can't you hear me? Suddenly, Li Yi stopped and slowly turned to look at Yi Xian. His expression was cold and gloomy, because he couldn't accept Yi Xian's disregard. You should be glad that you are in the Dark Transcendence cult right now. For the sake of the Transcendence cult, I can let you off. Otherwise you will die a very, very miserable death. Yi Xian said indifferently. Ha ha ha. Li Yi was startled at first, but then he laughed wildly. When he stopped laughing, he stared at Yi Xian with a face full of killing intent. I thought I was already very arrogant, but after seeing you, I realized that you are even more arrogant than me. Do you really think that you have the strength to kill an immortal, just because you used some dirty tricks to kill Li Tsangtian? I advise you to behave yourself in my Dark Transcendence cult. Otherwise, there is no need for my sect's elders to kill you. Just me alone can make you die without a burial ground. Boom. Li Yi's body shook as he released his Tao-seeking realm cultivation. An extremely powerful aura poured down on Yi Xian. Obviously, he wanted to intimidate Yi Xian. Yi Xian was speechless at Li Yi's childish and idiotic actions. He looked at this person, as if he was looking at an idiot. Yi Xian was really curious. Why were there always people who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth in this world? Why were there so many idiots? Not to mention whether Yi Xian could kill an immortal. Just the cultivation level he displayed was one level higher than Li Yi's. Yi Xian suspected that this Transcendence cult's holy son's brain had been kicked by a donkey. These thoughts only lasted for an instant, but Yi Xian's heart had already calmed down. There were too many idiots in this world. Perhaps this Transcendence cult's holy son thought that he had to bow and scrape in the dark Transcendence cult. Otherwise, why would he be so fearless? Yi Xian naturally wouldn't lower himself to this kind of idiot's level. He would just treat him like a fly. Yi Xian slowly walked towards the central palace, as if he was strolling in a courtyard. This was because he could already feel several extremely powerful auras surging within the central palace. It was obvious that Tong Ming and the other undying beings were overseeing it. You dare to ignore this holy son? Looking at Yi Xian's attitude of ignoring him, the holy son of the netherworld, Li Yi, roared in anger. The dark light that filled the sky expanded around him, and killing intent burst out from his entire body. From the looks of it, he seemed to be about to attack Yi Xian. Disciple, you're a guest from afar. Back off. Before Li Yi could make a move, a deep voice came from the central palace. This also made Li Yi glare at Yi Xian's back, before retracting his killing intent. Central Palace. A mottled stone door opened with a rumbling sound. Two Yiksha statues stood on both sides of the door. Dense light and cold air poured down from the void, and strange cries could be heard faintly. Junior, you're really bold. My dark transcendence cult hasn't even gone to look for you. And you've come knocking on our door. Are you not afraid of death? Dong, dong, dong. Like the beating of a war drum, like the sound of killing. A series of heavy footsteps came from the palace, and the figure of martial arts walked out slowly from the stone door. There were 4 black-robed old men. Each of them had white hair and beards, but their eyes were dark green. Their skin was pale to the point of being frightening. Their eyes were protruding out like fish eyes, causing one's heart to palpitate. As expected, there at the immortal realm, Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. With a glance, he could tell that the 4 old men were immortal realm experts. Moreover, they were all immortal realm experts who had opened the first heaven gate. One of them had even opened the second heaven gate. The 4 old men were escorting a black-robed middle-aged man. This man had black hair and a black beard. He was extraordinarily handsome, but his eyes were extremely pale. There were no black pupils in his eyes. Just a glance at him was enough to make one's heart turn cold. Clearly, this black-robed man was Tong Ming. The third heaven gate? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. With just a glance, he could tell Tong Ming's cultivation level. Yi Xian had not seen many immortal realm experts, but there were definitely many of them. Among them, Tong Ming, and Tong Ming were all old sect masters in the Grand Central region. Their cultivation levels were definitely at the peak of the immortal realm. Not to mention the old sect masters in the Grand Central region. Just the immortal realm experts Yi Xian had seen in the North Star field. Tong Ming was definitely the strongest expert Yi Xian had seen so far. Even though the 9 Mountains Wanderer, who fought with Yi Xian, was in existence that had opened the third gate of heaven, compared to the Tong Ming sect master before him, the Tong Ming sect master was definitely much more terrifying than the 9 Mountains Wanderer. Chapter 1445. Even if the source of the 9 Mountains Wanderer's world wasn't destroyed, Yi Xian dared to conclude that the 9 Mountains Wanderer wasn't a match for the 9 Mountains Wanderer. Be it in terms of foundation, legacy, cultivation, secret skills, or even aura, loose cultivator 9 Mountain was no match for Tong Ming. Yi Xian was absolutely certain that if he were to fight with the Tong Ming sect leader, even if he were to use all of his methods, he definitely wouldn't be a match for the Tong Ming sect leader. Of course, the future transformation technique didn't count. After all, this technique could even kill the strongest of the ancient times. If Yi Xian had the chance to use this technique, then not to mention the Netherworld sect master, even if there were 10 or 100 of them, they would still die at Yi Xian's hands. However, Yi Xian could only think about it. The conditions for him to use the future transformation technique were too harsh. The timing, location, and people couldn't be lacking. It wasn't something that Yi Xian could achieve. Otherwise, Yi Xian wouldn't have spent so much effort to incite a battle between the 3 sections. He could directly use his future transformation and annihilate the three sects by himself. He could even kill his way back to the great central region to compete with those ancient experts. You must be Dao friend Tong Ming, right? Yi Xian cupped his fists and greeted Tong Ming. Insolent. What right do you have to call our sect master as Dao friend? Tong Ming's fourth elder's face changed as he scolded Yi Xian. You're just a mere Dao comprehending state cultivator. How dare you call my master as Dao friend? Are you courting death? Tong Ming's saint son Li Yi roared. Yi Tian, this is Tong Ming's sect. I hope you know your place. Second elder said in a low voice. Ha! Facing the warning of these people, Yi Xian chuckled and said indifferently. I'm talking to your sect master. Who do you think you are? Is this the place for you to speak? Yi Xian paused for a moment, then narrowed his eyes as he looked at Tong Ming and said, or could it be that the Tong Ming school doesn't differentiate between seniors and juniors, and doesn't know how to treat guests? The dignified sect master is here, yet he actually allowed the disciples and elders to casually interrupt? You! The nether passage Saint Child roared as his killing intent soared. He was clearly provoked by Yi Xian's words. Stand down. Suddenly, Tong Ming's sect master coldly shouted. This caused Li Yi to glare at Yi Xian hatefully. However, a cold killing intent flashed through his eyes from time to time. Yi Tian, your mouth is very powerful and your guts are very big. However, you should know that if this sect master wanted to kill you, you wouldn't even have the chance to continue blabbering. Tong Ming's sect master said solemnly. Why does cult master want to kill me? Yi Xian asked even though he already knew the answer. The Celestial Court of the Six Sects. You have violated the rules of the three sects of the northern region. This is the first capital offense. You killed the emissaries of the three sects, and challenged the dignity of the three sections. This is the second death penalty. You are merely a Dao querying third state cultivator, and a junior of this sect master. However, you have no respect for this sect master, and refer to him as fellow Daoist. This is the third death penalty. Any one of these three crimes is more than enough to take your life. The reason why this sect master has not killed you yet is because I don't want to be labeled as a bully. If you know your place, then cripple your own cultivation state, and this sect master can let you live. Tong Ming's sect master said calmly. Ha ha ha. Yi Xian laughed loudly. It was as if he'd heard an extremely funny joke. His laughter spread throughout the Nether Passage School, causing many disciples of the Nether Passage School to quietly watch from afar. What are you laughing at? Tong Ming's sect master frowned. Actually, the moment Yi Xian arrived at Tong Ming's sect master had already sensed it. However, he was curious about one thing. Why would Yi Xian dare to come here alone? Beg for mercy? Let the celestial court off? A series of thoughts flashed through Tong Ming's sect master's mind. However, when he saw Yi Xian in person, he realized that things weren't so simple. This was because when Tong Ming's sect master first saw Yi Xian, he noticed that Yi Xian was exuding a mysterious aura. He couldn't see through Yi Xian's depth. However, Tong Ming's sect master didn't mind too much. He could tell that Yi Xian was only a Dao comprehending realm cultivator. The difference in cultivation state made him feel disdain for Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian dared to come to Tong Ming's sect alone. Tong Ming's sect master admired Yi Xian's courage. This was also the reason why he didn't kill Yi Xian immediately. He wanted to see what Yi Xian wanted to say to him. What am I laughing at? Yi Xian said. I'm laughing at the fact that these three crimes are complete nonsense. Oh, what do you mean? Tong Ming's sect master's interest was piqued by Yi Xian. In his eyes, Yi Xian's life and death were in his hands. First, the Celestial Court didn't infringe on Tong Ming's sect's interests. I only established it on the original site of the Lunar Sky sect. How can there be a death penalty? Second, I killed the three sects' envoys because the three sects killed my Celestial Court's people. As the saying goes, an eye for an eye. How can there be a death penalty? Third, although Dao friend Tong Ming is an immortal realm cultivator who opened the third gate of heaven, I'm not an ordinary person. If I didn't have some ability, how could I dare to come to your Tong Ming sect and call you Dao friend? Yi Xian indifferently said. From beginning to end, he was neither arrogant nor humble. Tongming's sect master clapped his hands repeatedly. However, his expression was extremely cold. He looked at Yi Xian, as if he was looking at a dead man. Well said. You're really sharp-tongued. I was admiring your courage just now. However, in my eyes, you're just an arrogant and ignorant junior. Tongming's sect master waved his hand and said coldly, kill him. Don't let his blood stain my Tongming sect's training ground. He killed without any reason. This was the tyrannical nature of the northern region's great sections. If a sect master wanted to kill someone, he didn't need to waste his breath. Ignorant brat, I'll send you on your way. Boom. The fourth elder of Tongming's sect took a step forward. He was an immortal realm cultivator, who opened the first gate of heaven. At this moment, his divine might was too vast. Clearly, he was going to carry out his sect master's order and kill Yi Xian. Wait a moment. How can I trouble fourth elder to kill such an ant? Your nephew can kill him alone. Li Yi hurriedly spoke out to stop him. He'd wanted to personally kill Yi Xian since a long time ago. So how could he let go of this opportunity? It was also because of his words that the fourth elder of the Nether sect frowned. But he still gave this opportunity to Li Yi. Brat, I've already said that you'll die a miserable death. Now let me send you on your way. Li Yi laughed sinisterly as a dark light burst out from his body. His cultivation suddenly burst out as he charged towards Yi Xian. That terrifying aura caused the four elders to repeatedly nod their heads. Although Yi has just entered the path-seeking realm, his cultivation of the Tongming sect has improved rapidly. Even a Tao-comprehending realm cultivator isn't his match. Our Tongming sect is one of the great sects of the northern region. How can a rogue cultivator be our match? End this quickly. Destroy his soul. The immortal realm elders spoke one after another. This made Li Yi even more arrogant. The smile on his face became even wider. You're really an idiot. Yi Xian frowned. He was speechless. Was he so easy to kill in the eyes of this idiot? One finger. It was just a single finger. Yi Xian's finger shot out. Even the fourth elder of Tongming's sect couldn't see it clearly, let alone an idiot like Li Yi. Bang! Heaven and earth shook, and the void collapsed. The brilliance of this finger illuminated the world. It was simply impossible to open one's eyes. Amidst a miserable shriek of disbelief, Li Yi's body exploded in the void. Blood rained down from the sky. Not even a trace of his bones was left. There are so many idiots in this world. Why do I always meet them? When will I be able to kill them all? Yi Xian let out a self-deprecating sigh. Yi Xian personally killing such an ant was simply an insult to his status, and it made him feel even more helpless. Chapter 1446. Silence. 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 It was so quiet that it made one's hair stand on end. Blood. Fresh blood. Beautiful fresh blood. When the blood-red light entered the eyes of the four great elders of the profound underworld cult, their eyes froze. They felt as if the scene in front of them was just an illusion. One strike. With just one strike, Tongming cult's Saint Sun died without a complete corpse. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, the four elders of Tongming cult wouldn't have believed that such a thing could happen. Dong! Suddenly, an earth-shattering sound rang out, causing the four elders to regain their senses. They saw Tongming cult's Saint Sun slowly turning around. There was already a footprint on the ground beneath his feet. He looked at Yi Xian with shock and disbelief. Tongming cult's Saint Sun started to take Yi Xian seriously. At this moment, his eyes were gloomy and cold, but there was also a trace of shock that couldn't be erased. You dare kill my disciple? Tongming's sect master enunciated every word clearly as a sinister light appeared around him. An indescribably terrifying wave of energy poured out from him, causing the sky around him to darken. Rumble! Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Dark clouds covered the sky, and cold winds blew. The void in all directions rumbled. Tongming cult's killing intent poured out from his body, and his terrifying eyes flashed with a cold light. The anger of an immortal was earth-shattering, let alone someone like Tongming cult. Unfortunately, Yi Xian didn't seem to be affected by Tongming cult's terrifying aura. Instead, there was a faint smile on his face, giving off an extremely calm feeling. Kill him. Tong Ming Cult's Saint Sun waved his hand at the four elders. His voice was filled with killing intent. The four elders of Tong Ming Cult were all immortal experts. The strongest had already opened the second gate of heaven, and the other three had already opened the first gate of heaven. Boom! The fourth elder attacked. He had already opened the first gate of heaven, and he was confident that he could kill Yi Xian. A great art of turbid heaven shot out toward Yi Xian, causing the world to tremble. Boom! Facing the fourth elder's attack, Yi Xian didn't choose to dodge. Instead, he met the attack head-on. Similarly, he sent out a grand art. The terrifying heaven-burying light was deafening. Bang! There was a loud explosion, and the void collapsed. The two great arts clashed together, and a painful groan was heard. What happened next completely stunned the other three elders and Tongming sect master. Wow! The fourth elder of the Nether Passage sect spat out a mouthful of blood, as his entire body was blasted flying by Yi Xian's great technique. His palm was also badly mutilated by this strike, and 3 of his ribs had collapsed from the pain in his chest. Wang! The fourth elder stabilized his body, but blood couldn't stop flowing out from the corner of his mouth. His originally arrogant and domineering expression turned pale and terrified. His gaze towards Yi Xian was filled with extreme shock. Your cultivation? The fourth elder of the Nether Passage sect roared as he stared fixedly at Yi Xian. He simply couldn't believe that he'd be injured by Yi Xian. Old Fourth, are you alright? Qi. The 3 great elders came together and quickly checked the fourth elder's injuries. Fortunately, although Yi Xian's attack was domineering, it didn't cause too much damage to the fourth elder. After all, the immortal realm that opened the first gate of heaven wasn't that weak. Take him down. Boom! The great elder of the Nether Passage cult coldly shouted. He finally realized that Yi Xian wasn't ordinary. Although Yi Xian's cultivation was at the 3rd realm of the Tao-seeking realm, his battle prowess could already defy immortality. If he underestimated Yi Xian, he would probably fail miserably. Rumble! This time, the 4 great elders joined forces and didn't give Yi Xian the slightest chance. Especially since the great elder of the Nether sect had already opened the 2nd heaven gate. With the 4 immortals joining forces, Yi Xian wasn't a match for him at all. Facing the 4 immortal realm experts, Yi Xian should have retreated. However, Yi Xian didn't dodge. Instead, he fearlessly charged towards the 4 elders. Perhaps some people would ask if Yi Xian was stupid. Facing the combined forces of 4 immortals, wouldn't he be courting death with his Tao comprehension realm cultivation? Yi Xian naturally knew that he wasn't a match for the 4 immortal realm experts. However, he had to face this attack head-on. This was also his chance to prove himself and establish his prestige in front of Tongming Cult Master. Regardless of Yi Xian's schemes, he had to show his strength and be on the same level as Tongming Cult Master. Only then would he have the qualifications to negotiate. Therefore, Yi Xian had to face this attack. Moreover, he had to do it calmly so that Tongming Cult Master and the 4 elders wouldn't dare to underestimate him. Die! The 4 immortal realm experts could destroy the heavens and the earth. When the 4 immortal realm experts attacked together, the wind and clouds turned upside down. Every inch of space cracked like a spider web. The terrifying power caused even Tongming Cult Master's expression to change slightly. Berry! Yi Xian formed a seal with both hands. A gray light burst out and formed a mysterious rune in his hand. When the rune appeared, it protected his body. Then Yi Xian threw it out. The so-called heaven-burying technique's true essence lay in the word bury. Bury the heavens, bury the earth, bury all living things, bury the universe's chaos. Boom! The heavens shook and the earth shook. Bury the heavens was boundless. This terrifying rune contained the true essence of Yi Xian's heaven-burying technique. It was also a shocking technique that Yi Xian had comprehended for a long time. Although it wasn't a forbidden technique, it contained all of his Tao in comprehension. Boom! The rune instantly collided with the 4 immortal realm experts. In the next moment, a dazzling light burst out, accompanied by a deafening explosion. Bury the heavens, destroy the earth, bury the past and present. It had to be said that Yi Xian's heaven-burying technique was terrifying. The shocking technique that Yi Xian had painstakingly created was actually able to block the joint attack of the 4 Immortal Realm experts. However, it was only able to block the attack. Moreover, it had used all of Yi Xian's Dao and Dao. Bang! A loud explosion sounded out as Yi Xian's entire body was sent flying. The 4 Immortal Stage Elders were the same. Both sides were blasted back by the explosive force. Yi Xian's figure instantly stabilized as he flew backwards. His face was flushed red without any ripples, and his entire person was extremely calm. However, no one knew that at this moment, more than half of Yi Xian's cultivation had been consumed, and the blood within his body was violently churning. A mouthful of blood flowed into his throat, and he almost spat it out. However, he still fiercely swallowed it back down. He couldn't spit out this mouthful of blood. Yi Xian resisted the pain in his divine soul, and warned himself with his strong will. The joint attack of the 4 Immortal Realm experts was definitely not a joke. Even though Yi Xian had used the shocking technique that he had researched to block the attack, the joint attack of the 4 Immortal Realm experts still injured him and affected his divine soul. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.